All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wax and Whiskey podcast. I am fully clocked out of Altamont Family Hearing. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship, hearing healthcare in general, crazy patient stories. And if you're into that and you're clocked out, grab a drink. Let's dive in. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wax and Whiskey podcast. I am very excited for this episode. My name is Jaysee Soto. I am the bald hearing guy on social media. I own Altamont Family Hearing, and I have the amazing Dr. Leigh Smith, which I am so excited that you are here because there's so many things we're going to talk about. Guys, before we get in, like if this is your first time tuning in, if you're a hearing care provider or you're someone that's just doing homework on hearing aids, I am a hearing aid specialist. I am nationally board certified in hearing instrument sciences, and Leigh is
a doctor of audiology.
Doctor of audiology. So for those hearing care practitioners, whichever hat you wear, you have someone from both teams, and we are going to talk about things about each team and a lot of fun subjects. We have connected. There's actually a few ways that we've connected, but I'm excited to do this because you are very vocal. I am very vocal. No. You have a lot of energy.
She's nothing if not controversial.
And there's a lot of people that, like, when it comes to just so many things, whether in healthcare or trying to preserve an image or trying to like do the right thing, say the right thing, like they walk on eggshells, and I'm not that way, and it does not seem, I mean, we got to be politically correct for certain things that we don't get into, but you're vocal about the things that bother you, and that is rare, and that's why I'm excited to do this.
Well, this is why I work for myself.
Yes. And before we do anything in the Wax and Whiskey podcast, we are always having a spirited conversation. Today, we're going to be doing old fashions. This is the first time that I do an old fashioned. And I mean, I love old fashions, but normally I'm sipping bourbons neat, and I'm discovering different bourbons that I like. We are clocked out. She's not going to be seeing any patients after this. Neither am I. Like we are, we have nothing else to tend to other than having a good time and having some spirited conversations. So today we're going to be doing the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Heritage Barrel Tennessee whiskey. I've had everyone's had Jack Daniel's, I would say, but this is the first time that I have this. Like I always have like just like a Jack and Coke, and and I think that's it. But this is the first time that I tried this one, and we're going to be making some old fashions. So give me a second. I'm going to make sure that you are refreshed.
All right.
And we can dive into some fun conversations that I have lined up today.
You know who loves an old fashioned?
Who?
MJ, Mike Johnson.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's for sure.
He's an old fashioned guy. There's a place down the street from my apartment downtown, and it's called Timpano. They do a smoked old fashioned where they come and smoke it tableside. Have you had a smoked one before?
Yeah. I actually wanted to smoke here, but we're at GRP Studios in Longwood, and there's a lot of sound dampening and things, and he was like, please no smoke, please no fire. So I was like, okay, maybe I won't smoke these. But let me dive in. But yeah, Mike, I've had a few old fashions with him, and he's a good guy. He's actually one of my, is he the favorite? No. Yeah, I'm going to go out there and say that he is my favorite rep, although he's no longer like my direct rep. What is he, like a regional manager?
Yeah, he's a regional director, although I think I saw on LinkedIn he's a senior regional director now. So I don't know if he got an extra promotion or if that's just always been his title, but
no, but well deserved.
So who's your do we have all the same reps between Tampa and Orlando?
So for Rizano, I have Aaron Martin.
Yes.
So so him, and
I have Natalie Martella for Phonak, and then Pete Hutchison for Oticon. Those are my three that I'm pretty in constant contact with.
Those are different. I have Sonia Burt for Oticon, and I just got a new Phonak rep because the last one came to work for me. I did not take her from you guys, Phonak. That's a whole other story, but I now have a new rep that I'm meeting next week. So, so it seems like we have different accounts. Did you ever work with, is it Madeline? Monica.
Like a Menite.
Yeah, wait.
For Oticon.
Yes. Was she a rep?
She was. I mean, I don't think she's been an outside rep for a while. I don't know what she does at Oticon. She's still with Oticon.
Okay.
But she's not a rep anymore.
I
want to say she works in business development. I don't know. I love Monica, though.
I remember, so I started from zero, but I remember when I was looking to buy a practice before I went on my own. And she was someone that I spoke to a lot. Like, I don't know if at that time, if that was her role, but I remember speaking to her a lot, but it was like they would only work with accounts if you were buying, like if you were acquiring a new practice or if you had a book of business. And I started from from zero. So then that didn't work out as far as like loans and stuff.
Well, that's why I think Resound has gained popularity in startups, because to my knowledge, they're the only manufacturer right now that will fund a startup.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Oticon and Phonak will only allow you to buy existing practices that already have a book of patients.
Yeah, and that was, I was looking at that.
Resound by far, in my experience, is the most private practice friendly.
Okay. Good to know. I have some questions. I'm going to dive into that. I want to pick your brain on that because so there's a lot of people that have reached out to me like on LinkedIn and stuff like that. I like to put a little bit of this cherry juice in the old fashioned. Just gives it a little,
you're the bartender.
A little extra love. Hold on. And I need my agave. I don't want this to spill on this table. Hold on. Let's drop this here. But so there's a lot of people that follow me like on LinkedIn and have shown love. And thank you guys for showing love on social media, LinkedIn, like all those things. Like it is the reason that I take time and, like providers take time out of their day and do content and do whether it's educational or like going out, like it means more than people think. Like when someone just reaches out and says like, what do you think of that? What do you think of this? Or just giving kudos for like content, like this stuff. I always say like, just turn on the camera and shoot. And like, there's a lot of people that are afraid to do content. And we just spent like 2 hours, no joke, setting up this room, making sure that my hair was right, her hair was right, like making sure that everything looked good, sounded good. Like it takes time and it takes, it takes a lot, but I'd say the juice is worth the squeeze for so many things. And like for this, it just means the world to me. Like when people ask questions. So going to that, like there's a lot of providers that are looking at, starting their own practice and like, they don't know where to start or like who to go to. So I'd love to, like part of this, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this and that. Here's my multitasking. Also, our ice sphere is kind of melted because it is Florida and it's really, really hot. And even though we had them in a cooler, we've
entered walking on the surface of the sun season. In Florida. It's gross.
It's ridiculous.
It's really bad.
I can't step outside. We're a Disney family and like this time of year, like we're ridiculous. I have 2 little girls and we go all the time. But the summertime is like, no, I do not enjoy it. Like, this is not, if you're coming to Florida to visit, like, if it's the parks, Disney in the summer.
No, and I don't know how, with young kids, them complaining about the heat and walking out, you know what I mean? That's child abuse. You should be investigated.
Exactly. They have like these little cool stations, like to go in, like they know it's so bad that they'll have like, come in and dance with Mickey and do this and that. But
it doesn't matter.
It's still way too much.
Yeah.
It's way too much.
There's no way.
Let me make sure this doesn't tip over. And here is your.
All right.
So we can dive in.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
For coming out and hanging out with me. And this is awesome. Like this has been
a long time coming. So we've never met in person. Mm-hmm. This is the first time meeting. We knew of each other. We ran in similar circles in South Florida. Both HearUSA dropouts.
I forgot about that. Tell me when were you in HearUSA? So what is
I can give you the backstory.
Yeah, let's take a step back. Yeah. Before you opened on your own, like where have you been? I saw Rhode Island, Texas, New York, Florida.
I'm a New Englander.
Okay.
Born and raised in Rhode Island, undergrad at URI, grad school at Texas Tech, 4th year upstate New York in Rochester, private practice. First job out of school was HearUSA. And I can tell you to the day that I decided I was moving to Florida. Actually, do you know Kim Lamb?
I know of her, but I don't.
Okay. Kim was actually one of my preceptors in New York.
Okay.
So Kim was one of my preceptors, and we got 18 inches of snow in 4 hours. They shut down 490, and I looked at her, and I just said, I'm done. I'm moving to Florida. That was it. And so HearUSA was the first job that came up, and I did not want to work ENT at the time. I graduated from my 4th year. So I graduated from school, which we can talk about the 4th year nightmare. Happy to get into that. And then I moved to Florida, worked at HearUSA. Didn't even last a year. I was only there for 9 months. Miserable, hated it.
What did you hate? And what year was this?
2016.
Okay, so
I graduated. I took off to Europe for a little while. Very on brand for me.
You and Ruby.
Ruby was not
exist?
a character in the story
Okay.
at the time. So for those who don't know, obviously most of the people watching this don't know, I have a backpack named Ruby.
I'm invested in Ruby's lore because
She's
I've
great.
seen her.
Ruby's great. We call her Ruby because she's red. She is her own woman. You know, Ruby is a key character in the lore of Leigh. And Ruby and I have been to many a country. I think we're probably 60 international cities in at this point. I do not do a lot of domestic travel. Big on international travel. Always last minute. Accidentally went to Europe a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of May.
I love just little.
Truly,
what is it? Is it Bob Ross? Is it the pretty little
happy
accident?
little?
There's something.
Well, nobody believes me. They're like, you accidentally. Well, going to Portugal was not an accident, but I wanted to do 5 days. I go to 2 new countries a year. That's a personal goal of mine. Hadn't done Portugal yet. So I said, well, I'm going to take off to Portugal. Little did I know, the Lisbon airport is the worst airport in Europe to fly into right now because they have the new entry system for the Schengen region, and it's taking people up to 5 hours to stamp in and 3 hours to stamp out. So when I always book my flights on Google Flights. I must have hit a row or a column or something. My 5 days turned into 9. I was like, I don't need to be in Portugal for 9 days. So I said, well,
I'm already out here.
I didn't even realize that I did it until my assistant, Janelle, I said, she's great at finding a deal. And I said, I need you to see if you can book some hotels for me. She's like, okay, what are the dates? I go look at the flights. I look at my itinerary. I booked a 9-day trip instead of a 5-day trip. I said, oh my God. Okay, well, I haven't been to Morocco. That's an easy flight to go to Marrakesh. I said, let me just leave, go to Morocco and come back. Then I saw the issues with the airport. I wasn't going to be able to fly in and out of Lisbon and go to Marrakesh for a few days. It was too chaotic. So I said, let me bounce over to Spain. Well, being responsible, I originally said, let me switch it back to 5. Mm-hmm. And then I said, no.
Already out here. You've crossed the pond already. You did that.
You know what it was? I read an article about a business owner that he goes on vacation for 2 weeks every single year, and he says, don't call me. And it was because it was a litmus test for what's wrong in his business and what the weak points were. And I just wanted to see what would happen if I was gone. The obvious is I'm the only revenue generating provider. Okay. Every time I'm out of the office, it's the cost of vacation plus the cost of being open and operating. Yep. But I went, the world still turns. The girls did a great job. And that's it. I had a good time.
Yeah. What prevents you or has prevented you from like hiring somebody to do that? Like, I think it's awesome that
hiring another provider.
Yeah. Like if you love travel and yeah, like what's
I hired a provider and it backfired miserably on me. I gotta be honest.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying this content and you're trying to get online to tell your story, to talk about what you do in your practice, check out Riverside. This is an affiliate sponsorship. This is who I use for all my videos, my podcast, my content. It's as simple as hitting record. It's going to give me the captions. It's going to give me the highlights, just the shorts, clips for YouTube, just the short content that we need. It's extremely easy to edit in. Anyone can do it. It's as simple as deleting the caption. It deletes the video in real time. And then you just export it directly to your social media. It is so simple to use. If you've been wanting to get on camera, but you don't know how to figure it out, you don't know how to do it, you're scared of the learning curve, check out Riverside. You could do it on your cell phone. You don't have to do it on your computer. It is so simple. And thank you for the love. Look out for Riverside/bald and get on camera. Your patients want to see you.
I hired somebody that I knew that I didn't work with previously. I made a stupid hiring decision. Okay. If we want to get into my first controversial hot take, I don't think ENT audiologists should work in private practice. I think I'm a rare bird.
Okay.
And this is backed up by other industry people. I think that when you move units in an ENT office, it is shooting fish in a barrel. It's incredibly easy to sell hearing aids in an ENT space. To sell hearing aids in private practice is completely different. And if you take someone whose only experience is in ENT, where they are primarily functioning in a diagnostic role, not that ENT audios don't sell hearing aids as well or dispense hearing aids. It's different. It's a different model. It's a different structure. you have to remember our job primarily as an audiologist in an ENT setting, you're on a surgical service. So my job is to qualify people for surgery and do pre and post surgical evaluations. That's what I've done for 10 years. So when you are used to doing 15-minute audios for full diagnostic audios, and then you're passing them back off to a physician, you don't get super comfortable fitting hearing aids. So anyway, long story short, I hired somebody with an ENT background, really struggled in a private practice model. And from a business perspective, that hiring decision cost me about $38,000 in 3 months.
Wow.
Between the overhead of the salary, the missed opportunities, just everything. And more than that, it was really tough on the staff. When someone's not doing well, if they're not open to constructive criticism or feedback or wanting to work on things, that will bring down the group. Yeah. And had that person not left, they would have left. Not on their own accord. They would have left anyway shortly after. I was trying to make it work.
That's uncomfortable for like other people then too. Like when the staff. So I hired somebody in the one that I did not take from Phonak. So she was my Phonak rep, and to make her long story kind of short, and she was my Phonak rep for a short while. She's a young girl that. She's amazing with people. She's worn hearing aids since she was a child. She's a Phonak baby. She had an opportunity to work for Phonak, and that just didn't work out for her. Like in, did you ever get to meet her? Her name's Tone. Well, no, it's that we have different Phonak reps.
No.
You wouldn't have met her. So it was a short time. And so she came in, I connected really well, was so impressed with her, and she's a hearing aid specialist as well. And not normally, but I'd say more often my reps have been audiologists. So whenever I saw like, oh, it's a hearing aid, or like someone like Aaron, who's not even a provider, he's more like business background.
Right.
When I saw, I was like, okay, kudos for you. Like they're giving you an opportunity. And she presented really well. We got along, and one day out of the blue, she was like, hey, so I'm no longer going to be with Phonak. And it was just like work-life balance wasn't there. And what they were asking of her was more. And, I only know one side of the story. But then she came to work with me, and that was out of left field. Like I wasn't even planning on hiring somebody. And so the reason I asked about like, why not have another person is like, I knew that I know that I want to have a little more as far as like growth and offices. I don't aspire to have like a ton of locations, because I just think like kind of getting into commercial spaces or like the
I don't think it's a good idea.
and that, like, I think dilution is going to happen no matter what. Like if people
I don't think anybody should have more than 1 or 2 offices.
Yeah.
If you don't already have it, I do not see that being a successful business model.
Yeah.
Your overhead is going to be so stretched at a time where it's getting harder and harder and harder to fit hearing aids. And the people that I know that have multiple offices, I'm fairly confident I make more money than them with less stress.
Yeah.
You just don't want that overhead. It's not worth it.
Having to and personality, so like the stress, like there's financial stress of trying to like figure all that out, but anytime you bring someone else, like like we spend more time. I spend more time in my office than I do in my own home, like with our staff, this and that. So like if something isn't going, like it's having rainbows and butterflies, like everyone has to be.
Well, you got to personality test your staff.
Yeah.
Everyone in my office is personality tested.
What is a personality test?
Oh, we have like an actual psychiatrist.
Oh my God. Okay, tell me.
Okay,
if you're hiring someone and you're not sure where to start,
there is. So I don't want to. I think his name is Jake. I can find this out after.
Okay.
I heard about him at a Resound event, and if you have a Resound BD account, you get a discount with him. But he's either a psychologist or a psychiatrist. He's, I believe, somehow affiliated with Resound. When you get higher into executive levels at major companies, that's something that is required for management as far as finding out what makes them tick. But I think their services are also available to executives to keep them at an even keel. So anyway, he went in and talked about the importance of knowing how your staff works. Mind you, this is so overkill for me, who's a single provider office with 2 employees. But with that being said, I function in my mind. I'm a Fortune 500 CEO. Okay,
I love it.
So he talks about the hiring process, and you will do your own personality test. How do you function as a leader? How do you function as an employee? And it's a little overwhelming. It's like sitting down for an SAT. There's a math and a verbal, which your girl can't do math, okay? Um, but you take this test, and it was so accurate. It talks about how I'm all intuition, no logic, go with your gut. I am stubborn. I don't want to be told what to do. I mean, it's so accurate, but to see it on paper. So anyway, if you are hiring for a role, if you basically get it down to a couple of candidates, you can have them personality tested, and he will tell you with a percentage accuracy if it's like 72%, 86%. If you're down to 2 people, it'll tell you who's a better fit for the role, but also who's going to get along with your existing staff.
Okay.
And I did not do, did I do that with the person who left? I can't remember. I think I just had hired that person because they wanted part-time hours. I only needed part-time. On paper, it seemed like it was going to be a better fit than it really was personality-wise. So it's a great service, but it also tells you not just who gets along, but it tells you the psychology of the people that work for you.
Like
I
what fuels
know
them,
what
what
makes
makes
them tick,
them, yeah.
because if you say what is important to you and you remove money from the equation, because everybody wants more money, is it more responsibilities? Is it title? Is it that they want more time off? Do they value like bonuses, or how do they like to be rewarded? I know what makes my girls tick. Like Janelle, she likes to be out of the office. She's a people person. She wants to do networking events. She likes responsibilities. Taylor, she would prefer to be in the office, but likes working the front desk. And she, like, they have their things of what they like and don't like, and they have their own roles and responsibilities. Everybody is cross-trained. Everyone knows how to do everybody's job in the event that they're out. But the tasks, as far as daily responsibilities, are things that are catered to them and that they enjoy.
Yeah, that's important because like with my girl Francesca, my wife Grace was, which you met, which is helping us all set up.
Love
She
her.
was my front. I love her too. I'm gonna keep her. So
Please do.
she was my front desk until we had baby number 2, and we hired Francesca, which is someone that we knew wasn't really like a friend, but someone that we like seen here and there. And it was this is my first time being a business owner. This is my first time, wearing so many hats. And like that was my first real hire, and it was from the front desk. Because with my wife, like we get along, but also when it comes to like work, there is no it is this is my baby, and she does follow like what I say. Like there isn't any challenges. She gives her inputs with things, but when it comes to like hiring somebody else that came in, it was trying to figure out like the same thing, like what fuels them. And I thought it was money.
It's
I mean,
not.
everyone wants more money, but this is someone that I was like coming up with like little incentives, or like, if you try, like if your name pops up in the Google review, or if you call these people back, and just anytime that I would come up with something that was to try to give her a little more money, that didn't really,
No.
it didn't do much for her. And times that of course she wants to make more money, and the world is very expensive, and that's a conversation that's happening a little more now. But what made her day and makes her day is like, and I've learned this now, she's been with us a little over 2 years, and it's just like, great job for this, like thank you so much for helping with that,
People.
like, and that is, in my head, yeah, that,
But
and
it's
then and I also
small
have to like
things.
pull things from her a little bit. Like she's not, when I sit down, whenever, we'll have like I try to have one-on-ones and team meetings now, and just like a pulse check of like what's working, what's not,
Right.
what's happening in your life. Like, let me just, we're so go with office things that I don't always have a chance to like, how are you doing? Like, how is things with your partner, with your mom, with whoever? Like, taking the time to do those things. But there are also moments that I'm like, I need you. Like, what do you need from me? Like, what do you need? And just sometimes you got to pull it, and taking the time to do that, it's really helped me like find out like where are they in life, like and just those little nuggets of like, thank you for this, thank you for that. It makes them feel seen and valued, because I don't get, and
You're trying to
you
be
and
the
any
boss that
provider.
you wish that you had, and that's how I think of it.
Mhm.
We have downfalls. I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're a small 3-person office.
Yeah.
We don't have health insurance. We don't qualify to give employees health insurance.
Yeah.
That's a big
It's
deal.
ridiculously expensive. It
Because
is.
we don't even have enough to qualify for a small group plan. And at
Yeah.
the time, or still at the time now, if we did qualify for a small group plan, it was going to hurt Janelle's family financially, because they were going to lose their subsidy as if she was offered health insurance.
Yeah.
So she was going to lose money
Yeah.
from an added benefit. So that is by far the worst part of working for me. So I try to make up for it in other ways. We're incredibly flexible in terms of anybody's needs. We have unlimited PTO. We're all adults. Don't if you need a day off, take a day off.
How does that work?
Oh, it's
How
the
does that work?
best. I really made a conscious decision to get rid of PTO at the probably middle to end of last year because what was that? And I always had a 3-week PTO policy that was accrued.
I saw. Did you have a posting, or do you have a posting? Did you have a posting?
We can get into that in a
Okay,
second.
because I feel like I saw a posting.
No, I
and
did have a
want to say that
posting.
I saw a 3-week PTO, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's generous.
So
I think that's very generous. So
it
yeah,
was
that's not
originally 3, now it's unlimited because what was happening, and I understand why, they were just hoarding their days until the end of the year because you never knew when you needed a day off, if you were going to be sick, if you wanted a vacation, whatever. And then at the end of the year, there was only so much they could roll over. And then we didn't have staff at our busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
And I just remember I looked at them, I was like, I'm really ready to be done with PTO. And they were like, confused. And I said, I just
that can, if I'm your employer,
yeah,
wait,
they're like,
hold,
what?
I'm
And
like,
I
wait,
said,
I need this. I need
just
this. Don't take it.
I just didn't see the point. I think that some people view unlimited PTO as a trick that they're going to be in trouble for taking too much or whatever. It had nothing to do with that. I just did not it benefited me by not having everybody off at our busiest time of the year during snowbird season at the end of the year. So I walked into the back. I checked the balance of the numbers that they had. I wrote them a check and I cashed out their existing PTO balance in the form of a bonus. And I turned off the PTO switch and it's been great.
Okay, so I wanna ask you about this because and I could tell from, or it appears to me from the outside looking in, and looks can be deceiving, but
Yeah.
and I'm gonna get into that in a little bit, but like, you seem to be doing very well, and you've opened 3, 4 years ago, 4
4.
years ago.
Yeah.
You have over 200 5-star Google reviews.
Yeah.
And in my radar, you are everywhere, and I'm seeing you in so many articles and posts and stuff. Like, what is your differentiator? So I am fighting right now, and there is when I say fighting is like from the outside, and I so many people might see me and like all the content and the things that I'm doing and think like, oh, this man's killing it and doing all these things. And I love what I get to do. I love my business. I love the people in it. I love the growth that we have, but it is not for me, it's not been easy. And I'm not saying this to like to have like a pout party or anything like
No.
that, but like we're hustling, and like you were saying before, it's we're talking about your provider and bringing them on. Like, we are having to have more conversations about building value and the things that we're doing. Like, so many people are this can kind of go two ways, but so many people are looking at the hearing aid as a consumer electronic almost, and just like insurance, which is a whole other thing. But it's in order for us to deliver the value or let the person see everything that we're bringing to the table, like there are conversations that we have to have and sit down and break down and let them feel that. And people are tight financially, and it's not effortless is what I'm trying to say, and we're not killing it. And I
Like
would love to.
how did my business grow?
Or yeah, how did it grow, and what would you say is your differentiator? Like, what would you attribute outside, well, not just yourself, but yeah, what is it? What is something that you would share to someone that's trying to get to that next level? Like, what has worked for you, or what's been the thing? Because for some people, it's been, I've worked with like I've spoken to practices that they're like, listen, we do this, I don't know, we do this newspaper article, and this is what puts us on the map. Like, it's the best revenue thing, and people find us and they come to us and they've seen us over the years, and it works. And then for me, I could do the same direct mail piece or thing, and then
No.
we don't
Please
have. So yeah. So it's what is the thing that's working for you,
So
or what's
thank
one of them?
you.
Yeah.
That's very kind. I will preface this by saying that I struggle with imposter syndrome, and I think some of it is valid. And I'll not fishing for not throwing myself a pity party. I'm just when it comes to my office, I think I'm ambitious. I think I work really hard. And I honestly, if push came to shove, I think that I could realistically, I mean, I could out hustle 99% of people. I can grind when I need to. I
get that vibe
work.
from you. That is your
Yeah.
energy.
Nobody's
and that is
going
what you
to
put out.
take, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I've reached a point where I've let my foot off the gas a little bit. But when I say I have imposter syndrome, I get asked to do a fair amount of private practice consulting work. And I have to be honest, my heart is not in that. And I will give advice to anybody who asks for it. But the reality of the situation is your situation as a startup is drastically different from mine. And so when somebody asks me how I became successful, to not acknowledge the fact that I had a substantial leg up in starting a business, if I didn't have the resources that were available to me, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. So what are those
What are those
resources?
resources?
Yeah. We talked a bit about my 4th year in New York, but that was the worst, the best and the worst experience.
Why? Tell me. So I as a hearing aid specialist, for those that are not that are not hearing care providers or know about this, or if you're just doing homework about this, we do not have the same educational background. Like I do not have. So I'm not an audiologist, so I know nothing of the stages. I mean, other than I know that there are stages, and then is it 3rd and 4th year that you go into a clinic?
We have 4 years of undergrad, and then we have 4 years of grad school. Your last year is combined distance learning and like a residency, a clinical placement.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at a private practice in New York. When I tell you, I used to wake up every day and hope that building had burned down overnight. I was miserable. I was severely burnt out. It was the most toxic workplace at the time.
And this is a private practice.
This is a private practice, multi-location clinic, but I was very good. I was the #1 dispensing provider in the region for Resound. I was in all of upstate New York and Western Mass. I was doing close to 50 units a month independently as a student. Killing it.
They loved you.
They did.
Yeah.
Still do. But anyway, I got put in touch with a guy named Bill Lavender, who owns Champion One Consulting, who handles some of the BD accounts for Resound. And also
BD is business development.
Business development. Sorry.
No, it's fine. My wife is always like, you guys, this industry has so many acronyms and things.
And we do.
And she's like, what is it, this and that?
So they were a heavy Resound account. And at the time, there was an executive at Resound that was the president. What was he? I don't think he was VP of sales. I think he was VP of business development at Resound. Anyway, his name's Keith Lewis. He's since retired. He was a huge mentor of mine. And we used to host quarterly meetings at this hotel outside of Rochester. And Resound is obviously headquartered in Minnesota, but Keith worked kind of remotely and lived in New York. And he used to come to our meetings. And Keith just really took a liking to me, took me under his wing, felt like he saw something in me, and to this day is still a tremendous mentor of mine. If you ever see me in a room that I don't belong and I shouldn't be in, or talking to people that I look out of place, is Keith. Keith put me there. I owe him a lot, but I was really, really doing well in New York, despite the fact that the guy that owned the practice tried to fail me out of school 6 weeks before graduation.
How? Like what?
So the backstory, he couldn't maintain staff. He lost 7 of his 10 staff members in the year that I was there. The turnover was astronomical. He was a nightmare to work for, truthfully. I hated it. I was so depressed and so miserable. They used to do a morning call and they used to set their goal for you, which was always so out of reach. The average audiologist fits anywhere from like 10 to 14 units a month. They used to set my goal at 40.
Wow.
And they used to put everybody on the call and then pit us against each other and say, well, if the student's doing over 40, why do you only have 20?
Wow.
or something just miserable.
That just screams like kumbaya.
It was really bad. Yeah, I mean,
a loving place.
It was a miserable work environment.
Did they slash your tires? Like, I'm like this girl.
No. So, but anyway, what ended up happening was he couldn't hire. He had a bad reputation within the community and could not hire local staff. So he was really dependent on hiring recruiting agencies in order to fill positions for him, which is how I ended up there as a 4th year. But there was, because he couldn't.
I'm sorry, real quick. Do you get paid as a 4th year?
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, if you're not getting paid as a 4th year.
When do you get paid? 3rd, 4th? Like when 4th. Does that happen? Okay.
Don't take unpaid 4th year positions. Don't be treated like slave labor. You should.
I'm just saying, because if you're doing all this for a practice, I'm like, man, like that would.
No, and
how
I got paid well. I want to say my start with them, which was already high to begin with for a 4th year, because you're not going to get paid like an audiologist. It's just meant to be a little bit of living sustenance. I think I went in and my initial contract was 30,000 plus commission, which is huge for a 4th year. That's actually really good. When I started really killing it, he pulled me into his office one day and opened up his checkbook and asked me what I owed on my student loans and was prepared to write me a check to write off my loan balance. And I said no.
Okay.
I think about that every time I have to pay that bill now. But I'm very much a teach a man to fish, not give a man a fish. And I just said that I really wanted to learn about practice management. And if he would give me a raise, that I would stay for another year or 2 after.
Wow. That's mature.
And
Wait, see, that alone is like, not everyone's gonna make.
No.
This is why you're a hustler and you are the.
I turned it down. It's not the first time in my life I turned down money.
Yeah.
But then going back to what happened, he couldn't hire audiologists. His reputation wasn't good. Nobody wanted to work for him. So he was training staff to become dispensers. Sadly, like really tragically, one of the girls' husbands passed away unexpectedly. I had a job interview in DC. I had already gotten time off approved, and he canceled my PTO and said I couldn't go. And I had to tell him that it was for a job interview. And he said, well, if you're not committed to your job here, then I have no choice but to call your university.
Wow.
And threatened to fail me out of my program 6 weeks before graduation. I had a full panic attack, hyperventilating, broke out of hives, the whole thing. I called my program director. She said, he can't fail you. You have rave reviews. You're the #1 provider in the region for a major hearing aid manufacturer. He can't fail you. So they said, we can't do anything until the grade comes in. If he fails you, we'll make you do some BS remediation, but you're going to pass. You're going to graduate. It'll be fine. He passed me with the lowest possible grade, because you have to remember, in graduate school, a B is passing, not a C. So I think he gave me an 80 or something. Listen, karma gets everybody. He's not doing well. Not that we wish him anything but success in life, but I left, Kim left, David left. I mean, everybody left. It really went downhill. But I would do it all over again. I learned so much. I learned a lot of what not to do. I learned how not to treat staff. We can get into my next controversial hot take after that too.
Going quick though.
Yeah.
So you went from there. That sounds like a negative place to be leaving. I mean, congratulations.
Horrible.
You graduated,
and then I went into HearUSA.
So that's actually where I was just gonna go. Like, if you're going to HearUSA,
series of bad events.
What was so bad
about HearUSA?
Yeah. Like, what didn't you like? I mean, and this is, you're seeing another.
They mess with my pay.
Yeah. Okay. Like how?
So
you don't got to air out all the laundry, but I'm just curious as to
listen.
You know what I mean?
Whenever given the opportunity to air out the WSA network, your girl's gonna go in.
I got some questions.
Okay, so
I know you're the #1 fan, and I can't wait to ask you something.
What happened at HearUSA?
I think this is probably another area that you and I
we knew each other from
we
this.
Connected probably a little more was last year.
So let's
maybe
before we really go in on what is wrong with the institution that is HearUSA. Where did you work?
So I'm all over.
You used to float?
Well, so I floated once I became licensed, but that was in Miami. But Jupiter, Florida was it. So I moved from Miami. I'm from New York originally, born and raised in the Bronx, and then we moved to Miami.
Okay.
Then I go from Miami to when I met my wife, we wanted to buy a house. We went to Port St. Lucie, Florida. Have you been to Port St. Lucie? It's like on the very retired, very slow, but it was we bought a house.
Where were you in Miami specifically?
When I went back to Miami, was Kendall, between Kendall and Westchester. But
did you work with Jose Quiles?
Quiles? No, he's not. Wait, hold on.
He worked at HearUSA, and then he worked with me at Suncoast. I hired him at Suncoast DMT.
No. Quiles isn't ringing a bell.
He lived in Kendall, and I think he worked in Kendall and Miami Lakes. I worked in Pines.
But this was, hold on, let me go back to the year 15. Between 15, I got my license in 15. And I went to Miami 15 to 17, 18. No, I was only in Miami for like less than a year. So I got.
So you went from Dade to Broward?
No, back to
West Palm.
No, to Orlando.
Oh.
So I got.
Oh my God.
So I moved to Port St. Lucie. I started working for HearUSA because their corporate office is in West Palm Beach.
Right.
So I was commuting to West Palm. That's where I hear about this program. I don't have anyone in my family or anything connected with with hearing loss. I didn't know anything about audiology, and I was in their call center. So when you called like the AARP number and
yeah.
I was the person who'd be like, yeah, we have a practice and get you scheduled. And I was doing really well there. And then like Scott Klein, which is the CEO, he's not the CEO for, what's the name of this group? Oh, what's EQ Partners that I'm in right now. But anyways, the CEO was like right there. Like I network with everyone. I've always been friendly and talked to everyone.
Sure.
And one thing led to another. They were like, hey, we have this program. Like we will pay to get you like a sponsor, this and that. Like that person gets they have so kind of like if you work somewhere and they give you someone like a referral bonus, like
Yeah.
if someone sponsors you and you get licensed, like that person has that. And their office was in Jupiter, Florida, which is like 15 minutes from corporate. So that's where I was. Her name was Valerie Kramer. She was a board certified hearing aid specialist.
Why is that name
And I was
familiar
with
to me?
her. She's retired now. She's such a sweet lady. She just retired. And she was amazing. And like it was, I fell in love with this industry because she was not. I always talk. I actually say a lot about corporate chains, and we're going to be talking about this a little bit. But I will tell you, my experience with her was unlike anything that I saw after I left there, because she was sweet, compassionate. Like there was no like heavy salesy people. Like she just wanted to help people, and she was just her demeanor and her approach. It made me fall in love with this, and I'm a huge nerd. So there was like the hearing aid side of that part. Like I passed my test like in the first try. My board cert in my first try. I try like everything that I talk about like online and things that we've connected on is I want to be the very best in this, and it's just I don't even know, that's just like my personality. Like I don't want to just half-ass it and this and that, and so yeah, so I went from there. Once I got licensed, I am bilingual. They were like, hey, we need you in Miami.
I just know they raked you over the coals being bilingual at HearUSA.
I immediately
you
went
got
down.
Screwed.
In Kendall, there were 2 or 3 providers, and the waiting room was like, I don't know, like 4 times the size of this room.
Yeah.
And there were people all around. It was very Medicaid dense, and it was like trial by fire.
The worst thing that you could be in the HearUSA network is a bilingual provider and speak Spanish.
Because it was boom, 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 boom.
It is the worst thing because you're on commission, and the majority of the patients that were on Medicaid were Spanish speaking. And they had no choice but to fill their schedule with a bilingual provider, which means you didn't get any direct pay opportunities if you spoke Spanish.
Yeah. And then I was a floater, which it was sort of the same thing. Like on top of that, like when I would go to another location, like it was a main provider. I'd be the fill-in, and
you'd
then
be the fill-in, so you had no
follow-up. They wouldn't give us direct
opportunities.
Correct. It would be like it would always be the third party or the Medicaid or the that. Which for those that don't know, like a huge issue that we have right now with managed care. I actually, since managed care is pretty much become a thing, or that there's been involvement with like third parties and stuff, it's the dispensing fees that they pay are abysmal, and they
below operating costs.
Yeah, they absolutely. And then if you're making a percentage on that, I mean, it's your, I don't want to say working for free, but you're definitely devalued.
You're paying to work.
Yeah.
You're paying to work. Just call it what it is.
And so all that, and then my wife and I, when we moved back down to Miami, after leaving, we're like, we don't want to be in this traffic, and just like
Miami's
all
a lot.
that. It was, I love it for the culture, the food, and to go for a weekend, but I would not live there again.
Miami's a place to vacation, not to live.
Yep. And then I said Orlando, and we had no one in Orlando. We always visited here. And then, so I went to Orange City, which is far up, but this is how I got to Altamont Springs. So we moved to Altamont Springs.
Right.
Wasn't out in Orange City, and then from there there were other jobs and things, but yeah.
So I was just trying to leave the snow. I took the first
you went
available
from that to the fire.
Yeah.
So
basically Canada to Miami. Yeah. Canada, Cuba was my track.
Exactly.
So I get to HearUSA. It was a cluster, right? So they asked me how much money I wanted to make. I was so miserable and ready to leave New York at that point, but I was making good money, really good money, especially I hadn't even graduated yet. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, I'm happy with taking a little bit of pay cut, but I need to be here. And I gave them this number, and they said, well, do you want a higher salary or a higher commission? I'm a hustler, baby. Give me that higher commission, right? So I took the lower base, took the higher commission, and I get down there, and they said, okay, well, you are the only audiologist, and the budget for the office is $1.2 million. So I'm thinking I'm getting an 8% cut of $1.2 million, right? What they didn't tell me, and again, that's my whole thing from the beginning. Now I know what to ask, right? I didn't know what to ask at the time. So they said, okay, well, you're the only audiologist in the office. It's a $1.2 million office, and I'm on an 8% commission. You're going to get 8% of $1.2 million is what I'm thinking. I was the only audiologist. you didn't tell me there were 4 dispensers in the office, and you didn't tell me you weren't meeting the budget.
Wow.
So you were an $800,000 office. So now I'm getting a 5-way split of $800,000 rather than a whole cut on $1.2 million, right? So that was the first problem.
How do they prioritize in that space? So if you had other dispensers, like what would be?
Everybody else in the office spoke Spanish, so they were screwed.
Okay.
I'm not fluent in Spanish, so I didn't have.
They were giving you most of the leads. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but again, there were a couple of other people, not every, but 2. There was me, one other dispenser that was a female that only spoke English. There were diagnostics that would float, Kimmy. Okay, you know Kimmy. And then there were 2 Spanish-speaking dispensers that were in there. So drastic level of cut and pay off the bat, not transparent at all. Then all paper charts, couldn't read anything, couldn't read some of the Spanglish in the chart. That was another issue. Then they had me training the sales trainer. That's awkward. But my biggest issue that really set me over the edge was on my offer letter that they had me sign. It just said the thing that I had my base salary and I had an 8% commission, right? I didn't get paid for a couple of months on my commission.
Why? There was a floor?
Because they said you didn't net 20,000 in sales. And I said, nobody told me I needed to net 20,000 in sales. And they said, oh, well, and I pulled out my offer letter and they said, well, your offer letter is not legally binding. I said, well, it was a condition of my employment. Had I not signed it, would I have been able to start here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I was like, well, what are we going to do about this? Like, I'm owed a lot of money. And they basically pulled well, you can take us to court. And they knew I wasn't going to.
Wow.
I didn't have the money. But that's my backstory with HearUSA. So I decided I was going to leave HearUSA. That's why I left after 9 months. Didn't even make it a year. Miserable. Absolutely hated it. I think the leadership is disastrous. You took HearX, which was bankrupted in the 90s, fired 1 or 2 people and took all of the middle management and promoted them and created HearUSA. HearUSA in my... Oh, getting hot.
Get it, girl. Have a sip. Refresh.
HearUSA, in my opinion, WSA in general, right? That is a house of cards built on managed care. Yeah. I don't know anybody that goes to HearUSA voluntarily. You're there as a result of a Medicare Advantage contract.
Yep.
And it's the same for Signia hearing aids. I've been told I'm wrong about this. Fine, I'll eat my words. They are the number 2 company for market share globally.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Shocking.
You mean WSA as a WSA?
Yeah.
WSA would make sense.
WSA, or if it's just Signia. But anyway.
Okay.
I don't know personally. Me personally. I used to fit Signia by choice. I don't know a single person in my realm that routinely fits Signia for cash patients without being under duress by some form of a managed care contract. Nobody is choosing that I know personally. I'm not saying obviously ever. Nobody I know personally fits Signia products anymore.
Yeah.
Ever. Let me be nice. Let me balance it out. Compliment sandwich. Let me say something kind. Their music program is good and their tinnitus programs are good. Otherwise, dumpster fire of an organization. Signia and HearUSA, WSA as a whole. Let me
what started the villain? Well, no.
My villain era?
Your villain arc for this. HearUSA was strike number 1. But what was strike number 2? So that's HearUSA, which is part of the same umbrella.
Yeah. Where was my villain arc with what? With WSA or with HearUSA?
WSA, because then you mentioned True Hearing, and I've read about True Hearing. Like, is this a coincidence? Well, okay, tell me about True Hearing. So True Hearing, for those that don't know, like it's for people that some people have like benefits or discount plans.
It's not a benefit. It's a discount.
Yeah, we call it. And this is gonna be a good one. I'm gonna refill for this one because I know we're gonna go on this. But the Medicare Disadvantage plans,
I love that you
which
call it that.
you are passionate about, and I talk
Yeah.
about. I have one of my best friends sells Medicare Advantage plans, and he works for a big company and he does it, and I'm like, how do you guys? I mean, we always go back and forth, like, how do you do this? And he's like, abuelita that needs this for the low, like this is the plan that works for her, and we give her this Walgreens cards and all these perks.
Yeah,
Like,
I hate your friend.
yeah, but
because
then,
you know why?
yeah,
Because he's
and
not
then
being transparent. Because he gets paid up to 40% higher commission to put them on that plan.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is his well, he's now a manager for it, but that was for like
My
a
God, he's
call
even
center
worse.
company. Yeah. So we have this back and forth all the time because I'm like, this is not like you need to see it not just from my lens, but then also just hospital settings and people that are choosing that are no longer taking. I think it was a Moffitt Center in Tampa. Was it the Moffitt Center that said that they're no longer doing like managed care, like things like that? Like this doesn't just apply to a hearing aid, because he'd be like, oh, how many people need? He'll downplay it and be like, how many people
Never,
need hearing aids? And
ever,
it's like this is
ever
just
shop
one part.
for Medicare Advantage or health insurance in general on the basis of hearing, vision, and dental. Ever. You need to choose a plan that benefits you for your primary and specialty healthcare needs, right? Is warm, and I get flushed when I drink. I'm sure my face is bright red right now.
It's not, no.
Is it not?
Well, no, I have the offset yellow. These ice cubes are not gonna make it. I have like the offset light here from you. Let me see. No, you don't look flushed.
Okay,
I'm
good.
looking over here in my second. I'm still sad about the Oticon story.
We can let's talk about that.
Like we should have.
No,
and
I'm going to tell you. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I think that we, as an industry, should have backed them up on the stepping away. This is just my take on it, because they're the only manufacturer still to this day that's been like, hey, we're going to pull out of all of this, or we're going to leave our. Was it all of it, or was it just their leading platform? I can't remember. Was it just the intent that they were pulling out, or was it everything that they pulled out of managed care?
Well, it was Demont as a whole, so it was their entire portfolio.
Okay.
But they weren't going to offer premium products or their flagship products. So I don't know if it was just the intent one or if it was all intent products. I can't remember.
Yeah. No, I think it was if I'm not mistaken, it was the whole line, the whole intent line. What I could remember was, I think with like UHC, that they didn't even have the reels.
But they still had like the Bernafon and whatever offerings that were available. Here's my pushback to that.
Sure.
Oticon was a notoriously arrogant company. They were the epitome of corporate arrogance. And I'll say this with my whole chest because we'll get to this too. Phonak is the new Oticon in terms of corporate.
As you're saying all this, I would say the least supportive company that I've had in my experience as an entrepreneur are those two, are Oticon and Phonak, and it's very much like we are the elite, and it is what it is. Like, this is what we have.
So
that's the.
You're not wrong, but here's my opinion on the Oticon scandal when it came to United. Okay, Oticon was notoriously difficult to work with for businesses. Their pricing was astronomical, and the only way you could get a good ASP on your cost of goods was that you had to buy massive bulk orders, and they did that correct. It was intentional.
I'm one guy.
Correct. So, they did it intentionally to breed loyalty, right? But if you were not a primary account for Oticon, they didn't care about you. They didn't care, or at least that's how it comes across. They didn't care about gaining your business. You weren't going to get free supplies. You weren't even going to get demos from Oticon unless it was attached to an order, and you certainly weren't getting good pricing on your products. Oticon was incredibly loyal to the people that had already been supportive and were already a primary account with them. They were not good at securing additional accounts. They thought, arrogantly, that if they made this big push to stick it to managed care, United in particular, that people would follow them. And they did get positive feedback, but the mistake that they made was they never worked to support relationships prior to making that move. So when they made this big move, they thought people would follow suit. Well, you didn't do anything to mature and work on those relationships prior to the move. And then they expected everybody to support them. You didn't support us as an organization.
Yeah.
I will say this. I love my Oticon rep. I've never not liked my Oticon reps. This is never a rep issue. This is a corporate issue. I think that they've been humbled. And we'll get into some of the stuff we've seen online in the comments later. Oticon has been humbled. Oticon has been better for it. They are substantially easier to work with. They still want you to have big bulk orders. They're still pulling nonsense with giving you demos. But I do see an improvement, and their customer service is substantially better from a corporate standpoint than it was in years past.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The I'd say the same. Like I'm starting to have more, or at least my reps. I speak more with my inside rep, but she reaches out and there's a little bit more of like nurturing, like how do we help you grow? Where the conversation for the most part's been like we have the best product and just purchasing this. And when I say that, we also, I think, could have like ordered more or leaned into Oticon more to like double down, because it was something when it happened, when they pulled out, it was one of the best times for me, like in our office, because if people were coming in, if we're looking for a differentiator, because one of the big fights that I have, we do take managed care, like we do have, I had opted out of almost every third party, and my goal is to opt out of every third party. But now that I've hired somebody new, I've had to go in for all. There's some that I won't. True Hearing, Hear.com. That's for many reasons. Well, actually, my True Hearing reason is since we spoke about that a little bit, is that they dictate how much you can charge even after their service visits. Like that's I don't know if that was something always, but now, but like you can only charge $65 for a follow-up no matter what. So whether you're doing real ear, whether you're just hitboxing
your
the aids,
operating expenses are over $300 an hour.
Absolutely.
And you're only allowed to charge $65.
So it is a loss.
It's a loss.
So it is a loss. So it's not even like, even if you're, because I would say like if you're opening a new business, just like you started with managed care, anyone that's opening a new business, unless you are really in a remote place that you don't have a lot of competitors, I do think that you have to open the doors to managed care to get your first patients to come in. Those are your first reviews. That's where you get your referrals. And then as you get healthy enough, you can choose to opt out. The general consensus right now is for people to opt out. Like people that are successful is they'll say, hey, just opt out of managed care. You're going to see less people. There's going to be less volume, but it's going to be more lucrative, and you're going to be more profitable. As of right now, since I've onboarded someone new, we're still in this, like, we need to bring in more revenue, and we need to do those things. But there's also like, I won't, like with the True Hearing conversation, like we're not gonna, you have to stand your ground also when it comes to things. Here.com is a huge one. Well, that out of principle and everything that happened last year, there's no way in the world that I would, like, there's no amount of money.
Look what just happened last week.
What just happened right now.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, last year, Here.com in our beautiful state of Florida was trying to pretty much go directly to the consumer and do that. I want to say that this is where you and I connected a little bit more. Like because I was on video, and I mean, many providers were just saying that they're trying to do a hearing evaluation through like a tablet sort of system, no bone conduction. It wasn't what we would consider a comprehensive hearing evaluation, and it was for them to be able to sell and dispense a hearing aids directly to the patient, not going to the office, not having
including pediatrics.
Otoscopy. Was pediatrics included in that?
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's where Florida really stepped up and got involved.
Yeah,
because there was they were allowing remote fittings on pediatrics by hearing instrument specialists.
Yeah, which we're not allowed to do in the state of Florida. So
but that wasn't assuming in any other state.
Yeah.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I'm open to being wrong. I'm happy to be corrected. But I believe that was the big thing that really set people off, is protect the kid.
Yeah. But there was no, even like otoscopy. I don't think there was like a solution to otoscopy. I don't know that they had a webcam.
I thought that they had a video kit in there.
But they're trying to get directly to the consumer, and that was and bypassing so many safety measures. Like when someone comes in for a hearing evaluation, it's not, let's say this is the first time you're looking up hearing aids, is it time, you have symptoms of hearing loss, you're misunderstanding, you're trying to find a provider, maybe you've stumbled upon one of our pages and you're just trying to learn about us. When you're coming in for a hearing evaluation, it's not just which hearing aid am I buying. You're not walking into Best Buy and like seeing like what's the best spec thing, and no, it's about your healthcare is the first thing. Like our intake tells a lot. There are questions that we're going to go through, the FDA questions, to make sure that there's no medical red flags that are being bypassed. We're looking in your ear, seeing if there's anything obstructing. Is there anything unusual in the eardrum? Like all these things. If you're skipping all these steps and it's just, hey, you have hearing loss, hey, you just did the screener and things are abnormal, so here you go, purchase this product. There's so much that you're leaving on the table, so much benefit as well if you are purchasing hearing aids and they're not verified. So I believe very, very much in real ear measurement verification in our office. It's something that I talk about all the time. But even if you even just connect, even if you're not a fan of that, like being able to connect and have the patient in real time do a calibration in their ear, listen to them, make adjustments. Like I don't believe that you could do all of this through a tablet interaction, and they did not win, so that did not pass. But I know that they're going to continue to try to find ways to get directly to the consumer in the state of Florida. I actually don't think that this is the end.
So
I
the
think this is
writing
the end
has
of that
been on the wall
legislation.
about this. You know, Widex moving to cloud-based software and eliminating.
I do not understand.
Let me make it
Like,
abundantly. Why?
Yeah.
Because of this. It is so abundantly clear. First of all,
like you don't even need to know it now. Like you don't know. Like they're going to be able to.
No, they're doing it so they
to.
can make moves to be more of a direct-to-consumer company. That's it. Point blank. Period.
This was I had my spidey senses go off.
This is all it is. You took your fitting software and moved it to cloud-based. Why? So it could be accessible from an internet browser.
Yeah.
Why would you need that? So the patient can do it from home. Number one. Number two, you removed a ton of your fitting features, right? And then they sent all the reps into the office and they said only 4% of people were actually using these features, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so one, if that's true, fine. But the people that needed them, Widex was a bare bones programming company to begin with. There was not much in that software. And then you removed a ton of those features, right? Then you get into the issue for people that are in hospital-based systems where they weren't able to access Widex software anymore either because of firewall and HIPAA things and whatever. IT is not my thing. So let me say this. Audiologists would be best served, hearing care providers in general, once they realize that manufacturers are not their friends. Every other day online, there's somebody saying, we need to support the people who support us. Who?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
They don't care about you.
Yeah.
I have a very close working relationship with Resound. Do you think that they care what I'm doing in Tampa? No.
Yeah.
They don't care what I do. They don't care what you do. They don't care what anybody. Manufacturers are not your friends.
No.
And everybody likes to think. I would like for somebody to point out who is their friend when they say, oh, we need to support the people that support us. There isn't, right? But some of them are just more transparent than others. And I would rather know what I'm dealing with.
This is business.
It's business. They don't care about you. This is a corporation. A corporation exists to make money.
And this is also when so many of them talk about, like, because they'll say, how do we support you? They'll say the right things to try to, like, win you over as a customer. How do I support you? How do I help you grow? I care about you. All these other little things. But then when this same entity is going to go ahead and open their own retail store in your neighborhood, and they talk about supporting the practice, like outside of the online thing, because Hear.com is their, Hear.com, True Hearing is just ways that they're trying to get to the consumer, whether it's with the managed care or like Hear.com. But then on top of that, now we have so many of these corporate stores that are being opened, the Hearing Lives, the Audio Novas, all these things that are what's this dark? Well, Miracle Ear and Audible and all these
But this is why I'm telling you, don't open a million. This shouldn't be the goal anymore. It should not be the goal to own multiple practices as a practice owner.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not feasible. Like, why are you going to run yourself into the ground?
Yeah. So there's a part, I'd only want, like I was saying, like the 1, 2, I say 3 graces that I'm crazy. It's mainly to, like, my aspect a little bit more. And I never want to not be patient facing because I just love what I get to do every single day. Like people, when you change whenever you help someone and you change your life, like I'm preaching to the choir talking to you because you are a doctor of audiology, but it is such a beautiful thing, and it fuels my fire. Like it is my thing right now. So I can't imagine. I don't know that I'd ever want to be like behind the scenes. Like I'm just managing this business, and I'm away on a. I want to take a vacation. I would love to check in, and I would love to not stress because, like you were saying, like when you go on vacation, you got to plan. There is no, well, for me, there's no like. Well, now that I have a person, there's a backup. Now I have a person, so the business doesn't have to close. But up until now, I've had to plan, for the loss of revenue whenever I'm on vacation. And it's been difficult, and I have little girls, and like this is the time. Outside of like having my family, I am huge on travel. We've been to like 19 countries. We haven't done anything crazy since we had our girls because now we have a 4 and a 2-year-old. But
Let me inspire you.
That is my, I love what I get to do every day, but I also love leaving. Like I'm from the Dominican Republic is my background, my family. Although I love Florida,
I knew that's why I liked you, JC.
in the
I've not
Dominican
met a
Republic and
Dominican I
check it out.
didn't like. Dominicans are just very
Yeah.
chill people,
Yeah.
unlike the Colombians.
Yeah,
I'm
damn,
just
yeah,
kidding.
no. Don't start the war now.
No.
But yeah, like I'd love to relax and I love to do that. So it would be nice to my fears. It would be nice to be able to do that and do that more often, but then still have like still have a business. And I want people to do well. I want to be cemented in Central Florida as the choice for people. Like those are my aspirations. Like I want someone to look at HearUSA, Audio Nova, Miracle Ear, Belltone, like all of these places and kind of go, yuck, like why would I go there whenever I go,
I think they do. I don't think that any of those places have a positive reputation. I think they're there because of an insurance contract.
or they are very aggressive on I'll say like in Central Florida, I'm seeing on marketing, like they're the amount of direct mail pieces, the amount of things they do hit my radar. They'll come in and they're saying and I have to step away from direct mail because that is not working for me. But,
not to cut you off, but
yeah,
take it or give you unsolicited advice.
No, I'll take it.
I'm just thinking, like, we were talking about how I've become successful,
Yeah.
and I said, admittedly, like, it would be wrong for me to not recognize the people that I had a lot of help, and that's why I feel bad.
Is Resound rep? Is this whose help? Is Resound?
Resound was a big help for me. I got a lot of help because I had a lot of, for lack of a better word, I had a lot of street cred within Resound.
Okay,
so it was very easy for me to get access to support from Resound. However, I was the audio director for a surgery group for 5 years. I never planned on leaving my job. First of all, I never thought I wanted to work ENT.
Why did you go to business by yourself, by the way? Like what triggered that? Because you went from there, you went to ENT. Did you go to ENT first and then?
Yeah, well, so I left HearUSA because I was desperate for another job, right? So I called Bill Lavender at Champion One, who handles a lot of BD accounts with Resound. And I just said, I need to get out of HearUSA. You need to find me somewhere to land, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a job offer in Boston, Atlanta, Dallas, and Tampa. So those were my 4 places. They were all private practice related. I thought I was going to move home. I thought I was going to go to Boston. And what ended up happening, Resound offered me more or less that opportunity. There was someone that was looking to sell a practice. They did not want to lose market share for that territory. And they said, we will put you in here, whatever you need, we're going to help you. But we would like you to take this office in Boston if you're willing to, because we think you'd be a good fit. You're from the area. Fine. I said yes. What ended up happening was the person that owned the practice was able to secure a cash buyer for $1 million. I didn't have $1 million cash. I just graduated school. I'm in a ton of debt, right?
Yeah.
So I had interviewed. I knew I didn't want to take Atlanta. As soon as I interviewed with Atlanta, I was like, this isn't for me. Dallas, I didn't actually want to take, but I was, the long story short, I'm just being honest. I dated someone long term in Texas when I was in school. And I kind of thought like I would move back when we would live in Dallas, right? So I was kind of like going back for a guy.
Okay.
But didn't really like the job. Tampa, I walked through the door. It was ENT. I never wanted to go back to ENT. Here's the thing. ENTs and audiologists don't always get along. I've always said I hate ENTs, but I love mine. All the guys I've worked with are amazing. But I sat down for my interview.
Why?
Why do ENTs and audiologists?
Outside of the relationships that you've had, like is it like a
they treat us like
undermined?
Okay. Yeah, there's a superiority complex there.
Okay.
That can exist. I've never had that. I was always very good at my job. And I made them a lot of money.
We're gonna chat about this between audiologists and hearing aids specialists.
I mean, here's the thing. If anything, it was the opposite. The ENTs would. This is when I first got there, right? So I'm not talking about Jose or anybody who's worked there since, because I hired Jose Quiles after, and they love him, and he's still there, and he's doing amazing, killing it. Just so proud of him and like happy for my friend. But when I first took my job at Suncoast, I went in for my interview. They wanted to offer me a job on the spot. I said thanks, but no thanks, because I thought I was moving to Boston. But in the back of my head, someone had told me you should never cancel a job interview. Even if you don't want the job, you should never cancel an interview. So I went, and I loved the surgeon that interviewed me. So Scott Anderson, Dr. Anderson, was the one that had hired me and wanted to take me on. The other 2 surgeons did not want to hire me because of money. I was asking for a lot of money.
As you should.
Yeah. And Scott basically was like, you didn't get to meet her. You would love her, blah, 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 blah. So I'm doing the interview, killing the interview. Love Anderson. Great guy. Just talked to him a couple weeks ago. Still keep in touch with everybody. But I said basically thanks, but no thanks. I think I'm going to move home to Boston. He was like, it's cold there. You don't want to go home, And they needed all new equipment. The equipment was ancient. I knew everybody. I've always been good at networking. I had a ton of contacts. I said, call this person for your equipment, call this person, call this person, call this person. I'm going to get you a deal. I'm going to set you up with this. And I would help them. And I said, you can call me at any time. I'm happy to help you. I just don't want to work here. And what ended up happening was I thought I was going to take the job in Boston. That guy secured a cash buyer. I basically went back and I called that ENT and I said, are you still hiring? And he said, yeah, do you want to come? And I said, well, can you pay me X, Y, and Z? And he was like, let me get back to you. And then he said, yeah, you can come on. Now, it wasn't till I took that job. And then a few years later, I'm trying to preface how to say that I love all of my ENTs, but you're talking with surgeons that have egos and big personalities, right? Everybody's different. And by the way, I love the asshole doctors. Give me the mean one. The meaner, the better. Something about really just cracking that little shell does something for me.
That's a challenge accepted for you.
I love it. And I had one who I was very, very close with, but he was notoriously. He's kind of like a Sour Patch Kid, kind of sour on the outside, sweet on the inside. He truly would give you the shirt off of his back if it was the last one that he owned. Yeah. I ended up being the closest with him, but difficult, right? He was difficult. And in the heat of the moment one day, when we were sitting and talking, he said something about, I don't know what we were arguing about. We had multiple arguments over the years, but he basically said something along the lines of like, well, I didn't want to hire you. Did you know your job was only guaranteed for a year?
Wow.
And I was like, what? I didn't know I didn't have a guaranteed job. Anderson really went to bat for me and said, we can afford to pay her for a year. If she doesn't do what we think she's going to do, we'll fire her and let her go. Okay. And so I really took that job, not knowing what I was getting into. I was there for 5 years. I left. I never got fired, never got laid off. I gave them 3 months notice when I left. I really did try to secure as smooth a transition as possible. COVID messed everybody up, right? And so at the time, I was working for Suncoast ENT, which was part of a larger umbrella called Select Physician Alliance. Select Physician Alliance was basically all of the ENTs in Tampa. They got bought out by ENT and Allergy of Florida. So there was a massive merger with a VC group, and they basically came in and they joined that organization. At the time of this merger, we had 4 surgeons, all but one stayed. So everybody just had kind of splintered. This is the other reason why I ended up going out on my own. I had a substantial amount of savings. We were in the middle of COVID, which taught me to live with less. I wasn't going out as much because I couldn't go out as much. Mm-hmm. My rent was guaranteed, which one day I'm going to give him a thank you, but he doesn't know that I know. One of the surgeons that I worked with at Suncoast, he left a year before I did. And he would call me probably every week, every 2 weeks, if not him, then his wife, being like, I don't have an audiologist. I need you. Come over. There was an office space that opened down the street, or not down the street, down the hall. He's 2 doors down from me now. And there was a chiropractor that was in there that was a legitimate con artist. I'm not over exaggerating. Mm-hmm. He paid a security deposit. This was during COVID. I was in Europe at the time. I was in Europe for close to 2 months. I was in Europe.
That is amazing.
I had already signed this lease, basically not signed the lease, but I had an agreement with the landlord, right? This con artist, he moved in and then claimed it as a domicile residence, so he couldn't get evicted because you couldn't evict people during their home from their homes during COVID, which he couldn't do. It was a violation of lease. It's a commercial property. There's no shower in there. He was showering at the gym. Mm-hmm. And so he had moved in and then never paid rent again. It's a squatter. What ended up happening was ENT that I work with now. So I don't work for him. We're two separate businesses, but we're referral partners, right? We refer back and forth to each other. There was essentially a cash for keys situation with the chiropractor where Brown told the landlord that owns the building that we're all in, I need her in here, like I need her for work. And I know that she's good for it and she'll make enough money to pay her rent because I'm going to send her enough patients. And if she does not pay her rent, I will pay.
Wow. That is amazing.
He doesn't know that I know this.
Yeah.
He's humble. Like, he's not like that. But this is when people ask me for advice when I talk about imposter syndrome. I don't have kids. I don't have a husband to answer to. I had substantial savings where I didn't have to work for a long time and I didn't have to draw a paycheck from the business. My rent was guaranteed. My referral source was guaranteed, and all of my consulting services were essentially guaranteed for free. So when people ask me for private practice advice, I'm happy to give what I have and what I know. But there's a major difference between why I'm successful and other people are successful. And I think to sit here and say, I'm not successful because I'm not where Leigh is a disservice to that person because they should be proud of themselves because I really had a leg up that other people don't have. I was more at risk for not leaving. I mean, the reality of the situation was I had a good opportunity that I was able to leave and do my own thing. Another thing I don't think I've ever said publicly, and I'm just telling you, I tried to buy the hearing center at the ENT office. I offered them hundreds of thousands of dollars. We didn't get down to a dollar amount, but I said, well, can I buy the hearing center? Because it was its own separate LLC. And they didn't want to sell it to me. There was no forward growth for me anymore. I was hired as a staff audiologist and I got promoted to I was a multi-office clinical director at 26. Okay. I was there for 6 weeks. I worked for 6 weeks.
I gotta give you time out. You needed, and I know that this is tough to hear because I hear this, but this imposter syndrome thing, we all have it. So like I am here on this podcast. I was anxious. You saw me minutes before we went live.
Freaking out.
That I was like getting anxious, and I've been cool, calm, and collected until like, oh, we're about to go live. And a lot of this is, I do admire you for so many things, and there's so much that we're still gonna get into and talk about. And I myself have a version of like, am I living up to my full potential? Am I am I worthy enough as a entrepreneur, CEO? I have staff. Am I doing the right thing? Should I have done that? The second guessing is something that I live with, and I think maybe people with our sort of drive or personality, like you're always gonna second guess or have that, or like you want to push yourself some more. But I gotta give you, like, you gotta give yourself credit because you are a badass and you are everywhere, and like everything you're saying. Also, I do want to say
an audiology baddie.
Yeah, you're audiology's baddie for sure. And you have I actually had here like the odd. I have an inside joke in Spanish. I was like odd jefe. You're the odd jefa. Odd boss. You're the jefa. But you know, you're going to your fourth year. I think so much confidence came from that. Like as far as like I know that it was like a rocky end, but you doing well, you seeing so many patients and being like the leader, let's say even as a student in that scenario. I think all of that trickles down into like just you talk every single time that so far that I've heard you, like as far as transitioning from one place to the other. Your worth, you've asked for more money maybe than someone who's like the shy, like I just graduated, can just pay me what you can, I want experience, like and it just resonates. So and I mean just for so many things that you're doing, like you give yourself credit.
Thank you, that's very kind.
You are rocking, and like stepping into the ring legally and just saying the things that you're saying out loud like that. There are not as many people who are vocal, and this is why I was excited, and I am excited to continue having this conversation with you, because like it's not, there are a lot of people that just won't say all of these things. Like I wear my heart on my sleeve very much, and for just about any time that I crash out on a thing online, which for some reason is the thing that people want to see more of, like if I'm doing just like I'm at this community and we're doing bingo today, like people don't care about that. But when I'm like, managed care is a waste of time, or whatever's going on, shoot, like those are the things that people want to see. And those are like when I go on camera and I'm doing whatever my rant, or most of my actually this is how the podcast was born, was just like I have all of this bottled up and I just want to I don't want to be in my office with my shirt and tie. Like patients don't see me like this. And I'm very, it's not a different person, but I'm much more respectful because of the demographic that we serve. And I try to, do the right things in the office. And I don't want to, like, there are times that I want to say certain things and I don't want to do it in that office setting. So this was really like a vent session that I was like, I want to clock out and just talk.
Yeah.
And and then this is kind of like where the drink came in. Like, I want to make it more, it was like, let me be a little more casual, because a lot of my content and the things I was doing at first was like strict, like structured and scripted, and I need to say this, and this is how you insert the hearing aid, and this is how you, it was so polished that I hated looking at it, because I'm like, that is not me. Like, I'm giving you, this is like the dance monkey thing. Like, I'm giving you what I think that you want to see. And it's a little bit of an objection that I have, like, with Dr. Cliff's format, which I think he is great, and he is just doing something that so many people aren't, and he's built a great network. But I also I don't know him personally. We've never really had a conversation other than like onboarding and stuff. But like, part of I'm trying very hard to keep my authenticity and keep that going. So like, part of it is like, okay,
You're
well,
unapologetically you.
yeah,
And that's how I
I'm trying to
am.
clock out and
Yeah.
be casual, and like, this is where the drink thing
Pour
came
another
in, of
drink.
like, let me.
I'm
I'm good. You're right. I couldn't. So you are a badass, and I want to say that again and again and again.
Thank you.
My wife was like, "Why are you more?" Because I was trying to figure. I would want to. So I was trying to tell her, like, this person's coming to sit down with me, and I am honored that you are here, and it is so cool. And she was like, you're. She could see that my wheels were turning, and it's what's going on. I'm like, well, this is someone that I'm seeing you say so many things online. We're connecting. I just picked your brain like yesterday.
Yeah.
And I love being able to phone a friend and be like, what do you do in this scenario? Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? So all in all, I admire you so much. And like, this is, I'm
happy to be here. You got me out of the office for a day, put real clothes on. I'm wearing heels, Jaysee. This is a documented. You can't see them.
They're down
but
there.
I have a heel on. I have something other than scrubs or athleisure. This is a moment for me. You don't get this every day.
Yeah.
So
there are heels down there.
There are heels. There's a heel. There is a heel. Big deal for me, if you know me.
Got my hair done for you?
No, I have the American lazy girl routine is normally my go-to. Baggy jeans and a t-shirt. I dress, like a tomboy most days, but I'm comfortable. So, but anyway, going back to ENT, I ended up working ENT. Never thought I wanted to work ENT. To answer your question, a lot of ENTs and audiologists don't get along because they kind of treat us like techs. There's not a lot of support as a peer for some offices. Again, I've not experienced this. But I also go in and I know my stuff, and I'm going to say something, and I'm going to preface this by saying nobody's operating illegally outside of their scope when I say this. However, my ENTs have trusted me to the point where when it comes to audio-related stuff, they let me function more or less like a PA or a nurse practitioner. Meaning, if I see something that's a little funky and a little weird, I can order imaging and labs and whatever, and I know what needs to be ordered. So I'll send a message over. That does not mean I'm operating outside of my scope for anybody comes for me or the people that I work with. But I will send a text, I'll send a note, I'll call, I'll whatever for any ENT I've ever worked for, and I'm like, I need an MRI in, or I need a carotid ultrasound, or I need labs, and they order it. They'll review it. They're reviewing, but they'll trust me. Yeah, and I know that if I'm reviewing a CT, because again, we work trauma, and this is just experience. Thank you so much. Over the years, thank you. Working trauma, right? I know if I get a motorcycle accident or a golf cart accident or whatever sort of head trauma, if I'm reviewing a CT, the first thing that I'm looking for is a lateral or a transverse fracture. And we always say tragic transverse, lucky lateral. And as far as what I'm expecting for preservation of hearing, and just having, it sounds so stupid for anybody that's actually a doctor listening to this, but having those conversations with the ENTs about like, okay, I know that if I'm ordering an MRI, I'm ordering a Bartell's Fiesta protocol with and without contrast of the IACs. I know that if I have a sudden hearing loss, I'm ordering HSV titers. I'm ordering a COVID test. I know that if the patient is on insulin or is diabetic, I need to do an insulin taper. There's so many things that you just learn over the years and having those conversations, they trust you more. And so they're a little bit more lax. That trust was earned.
But the ENT is referring them to you, like the ENT's refer, because you're doing the audio for the ENT.
Now,
the patient has
well,
already
we're
been
in
to
separate
ENT.
offices.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the order of the workflow, right? Because if I know they're coming in for hearing loss, they're going to see me before they see the ENT. Otherwise, why are they going to the ENT with no audio to review?
Yeah.
So they are.
But now you also have a relationship the other way around, that if a patient's scheduled with you directly, you see all these red flags, you're like, okay, do not.
Yeah.
What is it? Collect 200. Do not pass go directly to
correct.
ENT. Like, you're going to streamline for them to get care.
And it's beautiful having somebody down the hall. And I will. I'll personally walk them over. They're only 2 doors down,
awesome.
and I go to the front desk and I'm like, hey, I need this. Or if I'm busy and I'm backed up and I have 3 people in my waiting room and I can't. I like the personal touch. If I have the time,
sure.
I actually will walk them down. I will pull their contact info from my scheduling software, right? So I will print a copy of the audio for the ENT. I will fax a copy of the audio to the primary care. I will print the contact sheet that's in my EMR system. I'll print the insurance card information. I make it as easy as possible on the girls in the other office and be like, okay, I have referral. It's for this, this, and this. Can we get the patient scheduled? I'm able to triage, so they're not waiting 6 or 7 weeks. If I want something in 2 days, a spot is going to magically appear in 2 days and not 7 weeks from now.
For sure.
So having that relationship is really important.
That is amazing.
But so I'm basically hybrid, right? Like I work ENT, but it's a private practice. There's days where I really miss being in a big office. You were talking about sometimes it gets more difficult having more people around. I really thrived in my role as the personality hire.
Okay.
Like I enjoy being the comedic release of the office.
It's lonely.
It's lonely. There's 3 of us, and we are the 3 musketeers. Taylor, Janelle, and I are a great trio. But I miss all my friends. Now I see them all at CEU events. I get along with everybody in the Tampa area. We're all very close. I'm kind of the de facto audiology social chair. I host all the Tampa area audiology happy hours, except for the last one, Pete from Oticon. Shout out to Pete. Pete took over that one for me.
Is this an audiologist only thing?
Yeah. Why you want to roll?
I'm no, but I've been talking about doing this in Central Florida. Like I put it out, and I've reached out to people, hearing aid specialists and audiologists.
We put it on the Florida audiologist group
somewhere.
But
let's just hang out. This is such a small
let's get into it. You and I get along. You really want to get
no, let's do it. This is part.
You want to get to the hot takes.
So when you and I get along,
audiologists and hearing instrument specialists for the most part do not.
No.
Let's just actually have an honest conversation and talk about it.
And that's where I was going with the ENT thing, because I'm like, I've
my ENTs and I get along.
But I've also heard like that like feeling like the tech, or feeling like, well, you are a doctor of audiology, but then when it comes to the hierarchy or respect level, like not all audiologists feel that within their space.
No.
With that, and
by the way,
not all
they don't all want that. Some of them just want to be a tech. That's another conversation we can have. There's a lot of people that just want to push.
But then why? Let's do it.
Get into it.
So
this is what we're here
for. I don't understand that part, because I don't. Well, before we go here, why did you become an audiologist? Why audiology? There's a reason why I'm asking you this question. I mean, you don't have to answer correctly. Your story is your story. I'm just saying.
It's just long. I make it short. I didn't grow up with money, right? And I love to travel. I always wanted to travel. I thought that.
Good for you for doing it.
Thank you. I've always liked business. I liked law. My mom worked at the State House growing up, so I always had a little bit of a political connection. There's photos of me as a young kid in the Senate chambers and in the House chambers in Rhode Island, and like hitting the button for the page and be like, "Can I get an orange soda?" Like something funny. And so I always thought that was cool. Yeah. I thought I would end up doing something related to foreign policy, international relations, international business. The lore of Leigh is deep, okay? One of my first jobs, I worked at the Chafee Center for International Business in Rhode Island, which is Rhode Island's World Trade Center on the Bryant University campus. I worked there for years. That was my summer job every year. My mom got me that job. Shout out to nepotism. But I worked there forever. And going back to doing things that I should have no business doing, I worked on trade projects for Estonia. I worked on geothermal energy projects in Iceland. I worked on supply chain management for businesses in Colombia. So I really thought I was going to do some sort of international business, right?
Yeah. Like, what is
the lore? The lore runs
what was the
deep.
curveball here?
The curveball was your girl can't do math, okay? I'm not good at math. So I didn't have good math scores. We call it in the greater Boston metropolitan area, the 3 Bs. It's Bryant, Babson, and Bentley are the 3 business schools for the area that are phenomenal. I worked at Bryant University, right? Like I worked there for years on their campus. I applied to Bryant and I didn't get in. And that was a huge, and they knew I worked there. It was on my application. And one day, the guy that kind of like ran the show, he said, "Hey, I have a meeting in the admissions office. Do you want me to go handle this?" Basically saying like, "I'll get you in. Like, we'll get you in the next 5 minutes. I'll make sure that you're accepted. We'll get this pushed through." And I said no, because again, if we've learned nothing about my personality, if I've not earned it, I didn't want to do it. It's not tracking. So I didn't end up going to Bryant, and I ended up at I got into a few different schools. I got into Suffolk over in Boston. I ended up at URI, and I didn't even get accepted into the business school because I didn't have the math grades, but they had a program called Wanting Business, which was more like, we're going to start you on prereqs to track you, and then you'll apply into the business school after. So I got to take a bunch of electives. I have an aunt that's a speech pathologist, and I had friends that were doing intro to speech pathology. And so I basically took that as an elective filler, ended up liking it. So I declared for ComDis, so communication science disorders. And I thought I was going to be a speech pathologist and work with kids. I love kids. I don't have kids. I would love to have 1 million of my own, but I'm not a peds audiologist, right? So I started working in a DLP classroom for special needs kids with apraxia and a bunch of language delays. And basically the way that it works is audiologists and speech pathologists, for the most part, we all have the same bachelor's degree. You just declare for your master's for speech or your doctorate in audiology. So I had so many honors in AP classes going into college, obviously not in math, but I could have graduated a year or a semester early. I didn't. What I ended up deciding that I was going to do was I wanted to do some audiology internships because I had done an intro to audiology class and I really liked it. But you didn't have enough exposure to it prior to graduation in order to declare to go to a graduate program. So I ended up getting an internship at Rhode Island Hospital, which is the teaching hospital for Brown University. So I was part of the Brown University health system. So I had that little like Ivy League credential without attending an Ivy League university,
Gotcha.
right? So I worked at Rhode Island Hospital. I loved it. That was where I scrubbed in for my first surgery and did my first cochlear implant evaluation. I was like, I love everything surgical. So I did a 180. We went from I'm going to teach little kids to speak to I'm going to do interoperative monitoring and balance, right? So I declared for audio, ended up moving to Texas. They paired me as a grad assistant for the guy that was more medical, heavy into balance and implants. And then I did a 180 from there, and now I don't do any medical. So I'm highly skilled at my one thing.
Why not balance and like do you do ENG, like
None.
ENGs or like no?
Not my passion.
Okay.
So here the honest answer is this, and this is where
Like
the debate of HIS versus
take...
AUD comes into play, right? Because the reality of the situation is I don't practice at the top of my scope. I could probably have been in HIS and do mostly everything that I do now. The AUD was created in order to encompass balance and implants, of which I do neither. 90% of people that are seeing a hearing care professional are there because they can't hear.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there because it's pediatrics. They're not there for cochlear implants, and they're not there for a balance disorder. Meaning that if you can't figure out a way to get that patient into hearing aids, love it or hate it, don't come for me, but you aren't able to service 90% of the population, okay? It just wasn't my passion anymore. I didn't want people throwing up on me for balance evaluations.
So I wonder,
I didn't want to do implants. I didn't want to see kids.
This may go back to like a personality thing, but then who is the person that, not who is, but that is your passion, like that you want to be the person that's doing. So I had never seen a VNG recording on it was at HearUSA. They had a room there was an
Yeah, they did. They had
audiologist,
a
and they
room and all
showed
of those
me, and I think it was in the Kendall office, and
with
they
all the
and it
nice
was the first
diagrams with the goggles and the whole.
yeah, and then I was just thinking, like, the person, the audiologist that showed me everything that was there, which I think her name is Ismaili Lorenzo. She's in Puerto Rico right now. She kind of showed me all these things, and we don't really see it when you're a hearing aid specialist. You don't see the side of it because
Sure.
it is not our scope. We don't have to know about these things. Like
But
you should know about it, but
yeah,
you can't perform it. Like that is not our scope of practice. But
yeah.
she showed me all of this, and I'm like, I was impressed, and at the same time, I'm like, why would I? But this is a personality. I guess my question's going nowhere. It's just like who. Everyone has a thing. Like
why did I choose hearing aids?
Why that? No. I feel like hearing aids makes more sense. Like I feel like
I'm more business oriented.
This is biased because it's obviously like what I love. But like there is a person that doesn't want to fit hearing aids. There is a person that doesn't that just wants to wants to do balance testing and that. So
there's no job security in that.
Yeah.
How many times have I gotten myself potentially canceled so far this podcast? Here's the reality situation.
Someone told me
no, it's not. It's not a revenue generating thing for practice. The insurance reimbursement tends to be pretty low. The majority of people that are doing balance evaluations are doing balance to draw people into the clinic to sell them hearing aids, or they're doing implants to get put on the map of doing something else, or they're doing pediatrics for that reason. Pediatrics, cochlear implants, and balance do not generate revenue for a practice. It's either a loss maker as a lead gen, or it's a break even or very, very small profit margin. Job security comes from hearing aid sales. And again, going back to 90% of patients are there because they can't hear and their only form of treatment is a hearing aid. There is no job security like hearing aid dispensing for a few reasons. One, it's the revenue generated. Like I can go get a job anywhere, and if I can't get a job in audiology, I have a transferable skill, and then I could do sales. I could go be a farmer rep. I could sell cars. I could sell anything at this point, right? I could do B2B. I could do B2C. I could get a job in sales, no matter what. But that is the majority of patient populations that hearing care providers are there to serve. It's adult hearing aid fittings. What are you going to do? And we see this all the time in the audiology job posting pages. I need a job with peds. I want to do educational audiology. I want to do CI. I want to do ABR. I want to do balance. I want to do whatever. There's just not a lot of openings for them. And if they don't have dispensing experience, or at least recent dispensing experience, people don't want to hire them because they don't have as many opportunities available because it's not as big of a revenue. It's not a lead gen for them.
Okay. I had a person tell me he's someone that I actually also met at HearUSA. He was a 4th year at the time, and then he went on to open it's called Loretto Hearing and Balance in Texas. And
shout out,
we're connected.
Shout out. Haziel
still
gave me my first audiometer for my office.
No way. The world is small.
I will never forget it. I shipped it back to him because he wanted to use it for screening programs in Mexico. He, at a time where, again, like shoestring budget, you're trying to open an office. Haziel was like, I just want to support you. He's like, I have some equipment we're not using that's sitting in storage. Do you want some audiometers and tympanometers? Talk about
shout out
sweetie.
To Haziel. One small world, and look at the impression you're making on 2 different people.
Seriously. We love you so much.
I got along when he opened. I've called him. I've been on the phone with him. Well, in the beginning years, it's actually been Will after. We should, we'll take a selfie or something, and we'll just send it to him like you got 2 friends here.
And you really want to talk about the American dream, right? Like, truthfully, a kid with nothing that made something of himself. He came from Mexico, didn't speak English, didn't even speak English when he moved to the States, right? Because he moved to Texas, and at the time there was nothing. There weren't. I believe now it's different where they want English proficiency to graduate high school. I think that's a relatively new thing the last couple of years. I don't know. Either way, Haziel had said, he was like, everyone in the border towns only spoke Spanish. We spoke Spanish in school. He's like, everyone in my class was Mexican. My teachers were Mexican. So even though he was living in the States, he did not learn English until he went to college in Indiana, of all freaking places, right? So he was having to learn English at a collegiate level, and he did. And so he finished undergrad, and then he went to graduate school, and he's just killing it.
Yeah. I'm so proud of him.
I'm so proud. But if you want to talk about his business model and why he's successful.
And I don't know it. I just remember like whenever I connected with him and I kept seeing his growth, I congratulated him so many times. I want to say we opened around the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe he was like a year before me or something. I opened in 2020. And yeah, and I remember him saying like, we do hearing, but he told me like find a way to differentiate outside of dispensing hearing. It's just because of the state of managed care and all the things and all the curveballs that there's been. I've entered this industry 2013, licensed 2015, and in this time, oh my God, the curveballs. Every 30 seconds there was a new thing.
For sure.
So I think that's kind of where he was coming from. Like so many things keep changing vastly. So
yeah,
but I don't know.
So balance gives you job security in the sense that you can always get an insurance contract and you can always get people through your door. But if you're talking about reimbursable amounts of money, cash is king for hearing aids, right?
Yeah.
Haziel, unless his business model has changed, in my personal opinion, and this is not to discredit you, I love you, te amo mucho, pero.
Y habla español también.
Un poquito. Pero he gets a lot of VA work. Right? The VA
you do VA.
I do VA, but he's doing VA community care, which is different. There's no community care in Florida for VA. I do VA CMP, which is compensation and pension. So we're essentially doing forensic audiology and establishing whether or not there's a nexus or a reason that hearing loss occurred during service to assign a disability rating.
How do you do that? I'm sorry, this is not where you're trying to go. I'm not trying to deviate.
We're reviewing the service record, and it's very simple. If they were normal on the way in and they were normal on the way out, they will never get a service connection. It does not matter if you have an MOS with hazardous noise exposure. There is no delayed onset for hearing loss. So normal on the way in, normal on the way out, it's negative. Shifts of 15 dB or greater at any one frequency, it's connected for that ear.
But on the way out.
On the way out.
Documented. So if someone is a disabled veteran and they, that is they got hurt and that was their exit, they are tested before they exit, like, or is it just part of their disability?
No, audiology is part of your separation physical.
Okay,
so everyone,
that's what I don't know.
It's on there.
Okay, so they are, no matter what this person is being evaluated in their exit.
I have something to look at, and if I don't, if there is no exit audio and there's no way to, and let's say they have a high probability MOS, meaning they worked on the flight line, they were infantry, they whatever. If they have a high probability MOS and no exit audiogram for some reason, they just didn't make it to medical before they got out, typically we would favor the veteran and grant them a disability rating for that. But Haziel has a community care contract, which is different. I don't know if he also does CMP. Community care means that the VA cannot service these people. There's no VA hospital within proximity or a military installation.
So he's dispensing, but they're paying?
He's seeing all of those balance patients because the VA has nowhere else to send them and the VA contracts are high.
Okay.
I'm about to say something obnoxious and I'll tell you the exact amount off camera, but I'm just trying to prove a point. I have been working really hard to recession-proof my business. I've noticed it's gotten a lot harder to dispense hearing aids. If we were to pull up on my computer right now or even on my phone, my new patient leads are down 30%. My revenue is up 28%.
Mm-hmm.
The math ain't mathin', right? Like my revenue should be down if my new patient opportunities are down. However, I have built things into my personal business model, which includes doing voc rehab and VA. The VA pays very well. The problem is the learning curve is very steep and it can be an absolute pain to go back and revise all those corrections. I like working 4 days a week. I don't want to work 5 days a week. That's my prerogative. I don't want to work 5 days a week. I will work every other Friday for a half day. I don't get out of bed on a Friday for less than a certain amount of money.
Gotcha.
And that sounds obnoxious, but I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
And it's hot. And I work every other
currency.
Friday for the VA for a couple hours to cover my rent and then some. But, you know, I make a healthy living from the VA where I could work, if I wanted to, I could work 40 hours a month.
Yeah.
And be fine.
And this is still doing this level of service for the VA, meaning you are still
I
not
am
the
doing a
person that is
diagnostic audit. I'm
dispensing
not doing any dispensing. There's a difference between community care versus CMP. I do CMP. My job is to do.
Would that ever happen here?
No, we have too many military installations in VA hospitals. If you live within 90 miles of a VA hospital or a military installation, then they will not grant you a community care contract.
Okay.
I have 3 VA hospitals near me.
There's a bill right now with
they're trying to get rid of VA hospitals, supposedly.
There's
in the future.
IHS has a thing where they're trying to.
But that's
IHS, but it's to include hearing aid specialists in the language so that we can do hearing about, because they just allowed, I want to say a few years ago or something, for the VA to hire hearing aid specialists for the audiogram.
I think the hearing instrument specialist should focus on learning how to mask an audiogram. Let's make that a priority.
I agree.
You shouldn't be practicing forensic audiology when you don't know how to perform a hearing test.
And I don't know. These are the things, like what you're saying, as far as what it is that you're doing for the VA from the outside in.
Don't piss me off, Jaysee.
Here's what I thought that audiologists with VA contracts did. I thought it was just an audiogram. You sent it back and you were paid for your time.
So an audiogram it's sent back. I'm paid for my time, but it's also like a review of records, right? No tea, no shade to the veterans that come in. It is the highest incidence of faking of any population you're going to see because you have financial motivation.
Yeah.
Similarly to when we worked in Miami, you had a lot of parents coaching their kids to scam and fake a disability for an SSDI check on their kid. So you have to know your population, right? I love working with the veterans. There's a lot of scamming going on when it comes to the CMP evals. And so it's a lot of masking, it's a lot of stingers, it's a lot of interpretation of acoustic reflexes. So if you're walking through the battery, it's a TIMP, reflex thresholds. You're going to do your standard air conduction, bone conduction, SRT, word rack, stanger, and wax removal if required. Those are your components. And then you're going to review the service record and you're going to draw a conclusion on whether or not it's a service-connected disability or something that occurred during time in service.
Where I thought, when I see this language and this proposal, is the patient comes in, they're doing a hearing evaluation, and this is where
there's
I
no
am ignorant
dispensing
to
of
it.
hearing aids.
No, I knew that there wasn't a dispensing. I knew
not
that
even
wasn't
for me.
part, but I thought that with this, that it would be that the veteran would be able to come in, have an audio. I really thought that it was just an audiogram. I really thought that it was a complete hearing evaluation. We send it back. I haven't read anything about like what is included or not. This is the first time I'm hearing that
there's a proposal of this.
There's a proposal right now. I wish I had it. My phone's. This is one of the recordings. One of these cameras is my phone. But so that's where whenever I read this, I'm thinking that it's just for us to do a hearing evaluation as we normally would, and that there would be compensation for that time. I also think
you want to be audiologist so freaking bad. Like the scope
I don't think that it's all that bad though. So this is where let's go. So you're gonna be in the ring defending audiologists.
Get into it. What do you want to ask me?
Talking about hearing aid specialists. It's not.
You guys just want to take everything that we have. You want our VA. You want to be able to interpret TIMPs. You want to do wax removal. You want to do.
I want to do as much as I possibly can. Yes.
Go get an AUD.
So, yeah, no,
I'm teasing you. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you.
I've said no. You could say it to me. So I'm gonna take it on behalf of the hearing aid specialists to do that are trying to do their best. I do think that and this is another part of this conversation, but we have more bad eggs than you have, and I recognize that. I think that there are so many hearing aid specialists that get into this as a job and a way to make money, and sales is their prerogative, and trying to get seniors into hearing aids is it, and not people that are trying to excel and try to be the best within their scope of practice. I'm not trying to do something that I can't. I'm not trying to see a pediatric patient. I cannot do any balance testing. I cannot do auditory processing disorders. Honestly, when it comes to tinnitus, like that is
What do you wish you could do? What do you want to do that you can't do?
I actually do wish that I knew how to evaluate someone for auditory processing disorders. That is something that we don't even learn or read about, but it is something that hits our radars. And there's the people that come to us are in distress. Like I just had a young woman that I had to refer out. So it's someone who is and these stories happen all the time, like people that are looking to do better, that they are having every symptom of hearing loss, wanting to do better. And with, if the person has normal hearing, we cannot help them through amplification. I don't fully know what it is that you can do that I cannot, as far as once you've diagnosed them with an auditory processing disorder. But I do wish that I had, if that was a skill set that I could have in my wheelhouse, it would be that. It would be
that is so interesting to me. I would not have guessed that APD was like the hill that you would die on. I'm not saying it's the hill you die on,
yeah,
but I'm talking about like of all the things that encompass our scope.
Yeah, pediatrics
APD,
is one.
talk about a snooze fest. You're like, I want to do APD. That's where I really drew the line of wish I.
Yeah,
it's not balance. It's not implants. It's not interoperative monitoring. Scrubbing in for surgery. That would have made sense to me.
I got some shaky ass hands. You guys do not
want me. We're not cutting. We're not cutting.
But pediatrics would definitely be one I would love to know about. I'm a dad, and if there was a child, like if I could help in any way in that child's journey, and I now employ someone who's done well, and she's had speech language pathologists her whole life, amplification her whole life. She thrives socially, and so much is attributed. She's a sharp girl, and so much is attributed to like there was early intervention and there was care very early. Like if I could be a part of a child's journey, I'm not saying that I'm equipped to this, but if to answer the question, what's something that I wish that I could do, it would definitely be that would be part of it.
Okay.
I do think that tinnitus is a gray area for us because we learn about it in our distance learning books. It is something that's part of our continuing education. The manufacturers talk to it about us, but I do not know of any hearing aid specialist, I'm going to include myself in this conversation, that is proficient in anything tinnitus other than turning on a masker. And we cannot evaluate. And there are hearing aid specialists, and this is where I think that we are wrong. And I'll say both sides of this. Of like, there are people that are trying
I don't mean to cut you off, but I only recently. What is the difference between hearing aid specialists and hearing instrument specialists? Because I thought they were one and the same.
Nothing.
Why do I see different acronyms?
In the state of Florida, we are supposed to disclose ourselves as hearing aid specialists. It is the exact same thing.
Okay.
It is the exact same thing. Like so it makes no sense. Like our board certification hearing instrument sciences, but
I have a bone to pick with that.
HIS and HAS, but it is just for whatever reason legally in Florida, we are supposed HAS is how I need to be Jaysee Soto HAS. I cannot even do Jaysee Soto BCHAS because that could allude to me being something like, to the patient. It's like we don't want to present ourselves as a doctor, or we don't want to.
What does the board certification mean? Because we don't put anything with board certified. Every audiologist is board certified. We all have to pass a praxis.
Is that part of is that part of becoming an audiologist, or is there a test after?
So you have to pass a praxis in order to get your license. Our praxis is our licensing exam that you take.
Okay.
I took mine prior to graduation. Some people will do it during their fourth. I took it before my fourth year. I took it as a third year. Anyway.
So for us, it is like, why do it, or what?
Well,
what is the
you can get board certified for pediatrics, tinnitus, and I think something else. You might just have an extra certification, but like there's no extra testing. Like for me, when I see that, it's just light letters after the end of your name. Like I don't have my C's. I'm a member of AAA. I don't have my C's. I don't see the point. I think, no offense to ASHA, but you're a speech pathologist organization. You don't care about audiology. Mm-hmm. So that
seems to be the general consensus, by the way. Like that is just
the only people that keep C's was for if you were moving out of state for easy license transfer, or if you were taking students, because there was a time where if you wanted to get your C's as a student when you graduated, you had to get your hours under somebody that had their C's. Now you don't have to do that, and I think that's a move of desperation on the part of ASHA to keep audiologists to get their C's, because now if you are somebody that's applying for C's, it doesn't matter whether or not you got your hours under someone with C's or not. But you'll still find in most academic settings that the majority of people will have their C's. Other than that, outside of research and academic institutions, I think more and more people are letting go of their C's.
Okay. The BCHIS for us is 2 years after you've been licensed, you can sit down for another test. And this test, instead of it being, so like our first test, let's say it's more based on the distance learning workbooks that are from the International Hearing Society, which is just everything. It is how to test. Masking is is a chapter on there, believe it or not. Masking,
I'd like
effective
to see the
masking,
exam.
and
Let me tell you something.
and I'd say it's like 6 or 7 books. Like, it is thorough. So once
Is
you
it though?
I think the bookwork is thorough. I think that the test, this might rub some people the wrong way, but I thought it was easy. Like, I passed on the first try in both, and I'm not, I don't know what to say. I don't even know that I studied as much.
I tell you to
So
talk about it. And the
do think
reason
that
why I tell you to talk about it is because, and I'm going to give an example, which I shouldn't give an example of because I haven't actually listened to the podcast. But have you heard of the Dr. Death podcast? There was an orthopedic surgeon in Dallas that was performing basically neurosurgery. Like, you know how ortho can do back surgeries? I can't remember if he was an ortho or a neurosurgeon. Anyway, he was performing a bunch of back surgeries. And he maimed and killed a fair amount of people during his surgeries. And everybody knew in the medical community, do not go to him, right? This is my problem with audiologists, not to take it extreme and talk about Dr. Death, but I could ask you right now to give me a mental list of your top 5 of who you would never send a patient to because you know they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. And I can do the same. Mm-hmm. I'm not no snitch, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm 10 toes down. I've never filed a complaint on anybody's license. Have you?
I have. Yeah, because I've seen...
I never have.
So for me, it's never been against an audiologist, but I have seen unlicensed activity, which is illegal. So I guess they're not licensed, but the person... So when I'm board certified, I can sponsor someone. Someone can become my trainee, and that is how... That is what is needed for them to start their bookwork and become a trainee and eventually a hearing aid specialist. What happens, and this is more in the corporate chains, and I mean, it could happen anywhere, but I've seen it more in corporate chains, is that they'll have a sponsor. By law, the person, like, once you become a trainee, the person's fingerprinted, gone through everything. Like, you have a temporary license as a trainee. I am responsible for you if you are my trainee. If anything, if you do anything to a patient, 1, I need to be there. 2, I am liable. So it would come from my life. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And I will blow the whistle out of that all day, every day, because if your mom went in for a hearing evaluation and they got hurt because the person didn't know what they were doing.
Here's the thing.
You know, like, and this stuff happens, and it's not like this is a one-off. Like, there are chains, and like, this is a known thing of, like, they'll just have a trainee and the sponsor will roll by one day and roll out one day, and this is how they cover themselves.
I commend you.
But I'm not with that.
I think that that's great.
Yeah.
I do, sincerely. I've never filed a complaint on anybody's license. Here's the thing. Here's my issue with hearing instrument specialists. And we're 1.5 drinks in, so we're just being blunt.
Let's do it.
If, again, like I said earlier, she's nothing if not controversial. Here's my problem with hearing instrument specialists. I think that there's good hearing instrument specialists and bad audiologists, and good audiologists and bad hearing instrument specialists. I think it goes both ways. I was the first to admit 5 minutes ago, I don't practice at the top of my scope of licensure, right? Like, I'm predominantly an adult hearing aid amplification. I'm an adult amplification specialist. I think, this may sound arrogant, confirmed by certain people, I could be considered one of the top audiologists in the country for adult amplification, right? That's my specialty. How we're making that assessment and ranking, whatever. Whether it's by units of what I was previously producing, the fact that I have really low return rates, the fact that I have good relationships with manufacturers, that I do have passions and interest in product development and R&D, or that I have a little bit of international recognition by doing, an audiology consultant for different international banks. There's a lot.
I think just you from
the
outside in, like, you are passionate, and there are people on both sides of this conversation that aren't, and it actually upsets me more when it comes to the audiologist lens. Like I just will never understand the why would you go to school. I'm not saying everyone has to have your fire and desire and
Sure.
passion, but
Why do we
I
go to
don't
school and not
understand.
practice everything that we do? Is that your
Yes,
question?
and especially when it comes like when it came to the conversation, we had a brief conversation about this before, but like ENT settings, and you said that's a different animal, a different thing. But I just
People
don't
have different
understand
personalities. Number one, number
why.
two, it really
And it
just
frustrates
comes.
me.
It frustrates you.
And
You're
I'm not even the one that
entitled-
went to school, and I don't even have the student loans, and I don't have all these things, which is
You're
also part of like,
entitled
but
to
like,
be
yeah.
frustrated. I get why you're frustrated.
I just
To
don't
each
think
their own. Everyone says everything.
well, I think if you weren't as a group,
We're
if you
very
didn't
fractured
have
as a group. You guys are much more in alignment. You have higher lobbying budgets. You guys are constantly looking to elevate your scope, for better or worse, right? But you guys are much more organized as an organization than we are. Why I don't practice at the top of my scope, it's not my passion, it's not my interest, and there's no money in it. That's the blunt answer. Love it or hate it, I'm saying what everyone is thinking. Adult amplification. You can get mad at me
like,
by saying that and saying the quiet part out loud, but I'm not wrong.
Yeah, but you're focused on like it where I'm saying ignorance is bliss is like this that you've said of like I'm not practicing to the top of my practice, like that is not at all a perception that
that
we
you have. I know
have.
you don't. No,
like
no.
This is like we are our own critic, you know what I mean? Like within ourselves. Like if you have that, or if that's a seed that's somewhere in the back of your head, like that is within you. I don't know. Does it? I don't know, like who cares? Like who else what other audiologist that is looking at you and let's say criticizing you for like, oh, but she doesn't even do balance. Like who cares? Like their opinion, and in my opinion, it doesn't matter. Like I just think that this would be you being a little more harder on yourselves. Like you're the one. You need to do like the things that fuel you, and if you are passionate, like this is like you water. This is what you want to water and nurture and grow, and like that's what's happening for your business. And then if it is good, like if your business is growing, it's also because the patients see like this confidence that you have is you're exuding that confidence. They love you for it. Like you don't anyone that is doing something that they don't want to do for a living, like it like anything else in life,
your soul. You don't want it.
Like you
but
can't.
Also,
you can go through.
There are people that love doing all of those niche things. There's no one. You couldn't. I don't think. If we're talking within a geographical area, somebody, let's say, like really loves misophonia. That's your thing. Misophonia, APD, whatever. It's not a sustainable business model. It might be if you can find a way to do it telehealth. You have a group of people that get together. You have people that travel to come in and see you. Maybe there's people that are. Good on you if you can't. Like, more power to you.
Yeah.
But it's not sustainable to do that full time. You have to have variety in your practice, right? There are things that I don't do that I will refer out to people that I trust. There's no real competitive landscape for me. Like the people that are actually direct competition with me, I'll call them out by name and I'll shout them out right now because I love them. Gardner Audiology, Dan Gardner, loves Medicare Advantage. I believe he said over 80% Medicare Advantage when he talked at FLA. If it's a Medicare Advantage contract and I don't take it, which odds are I don't because I've only fit 4 units off of UHC in the last year, right? I'll send them to Dan because I trust him. There is no animosity. I don't feel competition from him. If someone needs balance, if they need CI reprogramming, another competitor of mine is Trinity Hearing and Balance. They're 20 minutes away from me. Kelly Hansen owns the practice. Delaney works for her. She's another audiologist. I love Delaney. Delaney texted me the other day. I love Kelly. Here's the thing. I don't view that. Are they my competitors on paper? Yes.
Yeah, no, but
I don't feel that way. I have respect for people. I've actually done
it in like podcasts of like, if you don't come to me, here, go here. Like that is, these are the people.
Implant evals. If I need a surgery evaluation for anything, otology, neurootology, implants, whatever, we send them all to Tampa Bay Hearing and Balance. Shout out to Michelle Blanchard. Love you, girl. But I have my list of people of like, this is who I send to for this. This is who I send to for that. There's no competitive landscape. These people are all my friends. I get along with everybody. But if we're just talking about like my gripe with HASHIS whatever
Either way.
acronym you want to use, it comes down to if y'all don't learn how to mask.
Well, this is your recent. We recently spoke about this.
This is not this is a recent rant of mine.
Okay.
Also, shout out to Cliff, who told me, he was like, I can't mask for asymmetries anymore without thinking about your TikTok rant.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I really take that as a
It was
compliment.
great.
That's a source of pride for me.
For those that didn't see, is it X marks the left?
X marks the left. X marks the left is actually the legal name of my company. We operate under a DBA, which is Florida Audiology Associates.
Okay. I was gonna...
X marks the left is the legal name of my company, which if it was more meant to be funny. It's a play on X.
I think it's funny.
It's a play.
Well, I mean,
we think it's funny as hearing professionals. It's a play on the phrase X marks the spot. X marks the left. We mark the audiogram with a blue X, and so it's always just been kind of my thing. So yeah, X marks the left on TikTok.
She had a rant,
which I'm not active on TikTok.
But you get the views. They love you. They love you.
Get into that. I want to talk about my meeting with Cliff after this.
Yeah. So in this rant, so it was.
I'll give you the backstory.
We had a conversation outside of what you guys would see. But follow X marks the left. She is there's
not much on there, guys. There's really not. It's nothing but rants, and when I do rant, it's once every 6 months. You'll find Medicare Advantage rant, and you'll find rants about people sending for surgery evaluations that don't need surgery because they don't know how to mask their audiogram.
So you were a little nicer on your video than what the conversation that you and I had, which I'm happy to have here.
I was hot.
So I got her when she was elevated and really really upset. Let's just put it that way.
Why was I upset?
You're upset because the question came, do hearing aid specialists, it's something along the lines of like, do hearing aid specialists have to learn how to mask effectively? Because she thought that we didn't, because you're seeing several reports from several hearing aid specialists that
and by the way,
they did not mask
only from hearing aid specialists.
Only from hearing aid specialists.
So what we get, prefacing going back, right? I've worked ENT for the last 10 years, but even prior to that, I mean, that is a core requirement. I want to ask more about this, but to become an audiologist, we have obviously our years of education within school, but we have 2,000 hours of clinical training that are required in order to pass, in addition to sitting for a board exam.
To give someone a difference between our credentials. To become licensed in the state of Florida, it's 480 hours after you've passed bookwork of being. It's not like residency, but you have to be with your sponsor 480 live hours after you've passed your bookwork before you can sit down for the state exam.
Which is a gripe of mine, and I want to explain why and why I think there needs to be reform in this. You have one sponsor.
We're going everywhere. We got
I'm severely ADHD.
We got this.
And I don't take any Adderall.
No, we're going to talk about like the whole thing.
We're going to get there.
It's going to be.
But I'm severely ADHD. I don't take my Adderall, so I'm just out here raw dogging life.
We're just doing it.
Yeah. It's difficult for me. I think if I actually took my medication, I could rule the world. Yeah. And I actually mean that sincerely, like half sincerely, half delusional, but I'm there. Okay, here's my issue with the licensing requirement. When you're an audiologist, you have so many different clinical experiences. I'm eternally grateful for my time at Texas Tech. I think I had a great education there. I think that I learned a lot. But the one critique that I have, and I've said this to people there, is that it's in such a small town that a lot of people went there for undergrad and then they went there for grad school. And when you go out and you're doing your clinical practicums, it's the same thing. It's your preceptors went there for undergrad, they went there for grad, they went there for undergrad, they went there for grad. I did not really learn anything different. And, when I was at Rhode Island Hospital, I learned something different. When I went to my 4th year in New York, I learned something different. When I went to HearUSA, I learned something different. You need diversity in your education. And time out for 2 seconds. Students, I'm talking to you. Your 4th year should be done in a completely different city. USF students should not be completing their undergrad at USF, their graduate program at USF, and their 4th year within the city of Tampa. You need to diversify your education. And my problem...
I think people had to leave.
No.
So just because I feel like
you don't.
every audiologist that I've met has been like in several
because we have to apply
places.
for it like a residency, right? We have to. But like for people who don't, and you just magically get in and stay in the same city, you have no diversification in your education. That diversity is what made me a better provider. My issue... I have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But my core issue with the HIS training program, you don't have as many hours. Fine, because you're not going to school as long. You don't need to encompass a full scope of practice. Do I think that 400 hours is low? Yeah, I do. I sincerely do. Having one sponsor and only one person providing that education is also problematic.
Yeah.
And
especially
need that,
when
because
that person isn't working to the top of it. So
when they're not practicing the right way. And my bigger issue is that, why do you not allow audiologists to sponsor you?
I don't know. Yeah.
You are taking someone with
that's
the
a fight
higher...
that makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
That makes no sense, and I'll be...
Audiologists should be able to sponsor for a hearing instrument
Absolutely.
specialist to sit for their exam.
I agree completely.
You should not allow someone with a higher degree, with more clinical expertise.
Absolutely.
Love it or hate it, I'm saying it how it is.
Yeah.
We have more clinical expertise.
No,
we should be allowed to sponsor.
That shouldn't even be a debate. Like,
there is no debate.
Like, there is no world. When I say that I get upset about like audiologists not performing to their top,
sure.
and specifically when I say this is when I see like audiograms that in my opinion are incomplete or coming from ear, nose, and throat practices, and there are times that I've spoken to audiologists, sat down and be like, what is going on here? And it's like, we have like 1 million audios. Like, it is every 10 minutes. Like,
Jaysee, we see audios every 10 to 15 minutes. So when we're, and to your point, because you are making a good point, and if we're going to talk about best practices and Cliff and the whole thing, right?
Or I just go back, like, I say this, this is when patients hit me with like, if I was your mom, what would you recommend to me? I try to put the same sort of analogy of like, if your mom had to go to a provider for hearing healthcare, she has hearing loss, her symptoms are hearing loss, and she went to an audiologist, and she had, let's say she went to ear, nose, and throat because that's just where her doctor sends her, right?
Sure.
And she went and she had an audio, and it was incomplete. Incomplete meaning incomplete by, let's say, the Dr. Cliff standard or your own standards in your office, meaning 250 to 8 inner octaves, especially if there's a 15 decibel dip, effective masking for both ears, UCLs, SRTs, MCLs, bilateral discrim and unilateral, not just, unless unilateral was 100 in both. I don't know why you need bilateral for that. And a quick sense test. I believe in it. That is not, I don't think that it, no, that is not a requirement in the state of Florida for hearing aid specialists. But let's say, I just said a whole bunch of things, right? And if they didn't have all of that versus the hearing aid specialist that is doing all of those things and works with all of them, and your mom's symptom is hearing loss, where is she better served?
Your mom is best served in the practice that is able to do a correct diagnostic audiogram, because you cannot write a prescription, and let's call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a prescription. It's a prescription product.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody should be writing prescriptions and programming prescriptions off of audiograms that are not complete. Now, if somebody goes to an ENT, by who?
On both sides.
By who?
On both sides of the story.
Okay,
on both sides of the story.
Sure.
That may not be your experience, but
I've never done a repeat audiogram.
Mm-hmm.
I've done repeat audiograms on audiologists. I've not done a repeat audiogram that did not have masking completed by anybody other than
okay, yeah, that's a different, yeah, and I won't defend that person because you literally showed me the audio and I was like, what in the world is going on?
I've only ever gotten unmasked audiograms for surgery referrals from a hearing instrument specialist. Right hand to God, I'm not exaggerating, I'm not lying. It's not ever from an audiologist. Here's the thing: when somebody comes to an ENT office, our goal, we are working a surgery service. Love it, hate it, call it what it is. Our job is to complete an audiogram in 15 minutes or less for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
That includes case history, otoscopy, air, bone, SRT, word rack, quicksen, possibly reflexes, and possibly OAEs in 15 minutes, in addition to writing a report and sending it out. We don't have time.
I don't know how that's possible.
It is possible.
No.
Way
too long, but so in my world, like I don't know how, and this is not a criticism.
No, it's not. But this is,
I just don't.
You could do it, yeah. And I'm telling you can do it. And this is where I tell people, don't judge your audiogram based on the amount of time that it takes if it is done correctly.
Yeah.
ENT audiologists, truthfully, are your last line of defense before getting unnecessarily cut open.
Yeah.
We are.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're just save a lot of
You're
people,
there
honey. I save a lot of people.
That's why you're passionate and motivated with it, because it's like,
don't discredit yourself, because the reality of the situation is, if push came to shove, anybody can learn how to mask and learn how to mask quickly when you are working with a surgeon that just worked a 24-hour call shift and got called at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night to do a surgery on a post-op bleed and blah, 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 blah. And now it's 8 a.m. and they're coming through the door and they're screaming at you to complete an audiogram. You all of a sudden will become efficient at masking and you can get it done. And so at least at Texas Tech, ENT was part of our graduation requirement. Everybody had to work private practice because it was where you got good at hearing aids. Everybody had to work ENT, which basically because that's where you got good at masking and good at your speed and good at your diagnostics. I really commend Texas Tech for that. They gave us a very diversified, well-rounded educational experience. We started clinic in the first semester of the first year. We didn't know what we were doing, but fall semester of your first year, we really walked through the door of the clinic. We had keys to the clinic, so we had 24-hour access to the lab. We can go in at any time and work on each other. But they really made a point to teach us diagnostics rather than teaching us to be lab rats and GAs, because there's some universities that only want students to help them get grant funding to keep their job, and they're more academic focused. And the reality of the situation is the majority of people that are graduating are going to practice clinically, not academically. So at any rate, eternally grateful to my time at Texas Tech. My issue with some of the other universities, and I'm not afraid to say it, I've called them out before. I've called the university and said that. My gripe with USF is they start their kids way too late. I really don't see USF students anymore. I would take them if they asked me, but USF is not starting their students in outside clinical placements until the summer before their third year. And then they're applying for fourth year rotations in the fall. So they have no off-campus experience. It's not enough time. They have a year of just book work. Tech started us, like I said, fall semester of the first year. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were in the clinic for observation. We were watching the professor test patients. So we were doing our clinical work concurrent to our coursework. We had more clinical hours than anybody. I mean, it was a night and day difference between my clinical education and the clinical education I see out of the students that I teach at USF in the past. We should not be producing third-year students that don't know how to do an audiogram, that don't know how to do an ear mold depression, that don't have basic fitting competency. And unfortunately, and I'm not just singling out USF, I'm calling out a lot of universities here. You're starting your kids too late. The students are starting way too late. They need to be in clinic as soon as possible. And part of the problem is universities are expected for them to have a certain class size to collect tuition money, and they have these standards and whatever. Your class sizes for audiology are limited based on the number of off-campus places that you can send them to. So Tech, where I graduated, capped at 12. We accepted 10, 2 failed out. I graduated with 8. There was only 8 people in my graduating class. You're talking about a small town.
Yeah.
So when you have people in Tampa that say, I no longer want to take USF students because the quality of some of the clinical training that's coming out, things either shrink or you're sending kids for 2 hours away in order to get them a placement. And I have taken 2 students at a time in the past. I've offered to take first years. I've offered to take second years. I've given feedback on the university program on how they can improve. I've offered to volunteer my time and work for free. I said, I don't work Fridays. I can come on Fridays. We can come on Saturdays. I can run extra clinic. I've given suggestions for them to attract more providers if they found a way to make us some sort of adjunct faculty where we could send our kids to school for free, because now we're considered university faculty. I think there's a lot of people that would sign up for that. So yeah, I've undoubtedly been very critical of USF's audiology program. I haven't been happy with it. They're not going to be happy if anybody from USF sees this podcast. I wouldn't hire a USF grad unless they'd already worked for me. And that's sad. I would like to see the program make changes, and I would be happy to help institute those changes.
So you're even here, like, this is very critical of you to say that.
Yeah.
And it is very understanding then when, whenever we're talking about a hearing aid specialist, like taking it down a notch, like we have one sponsor, the 480 hours, like you're saying
And
this
that's
from a
wrong because you have no
university level.
diversification in your
So,
education.
and that's
Yeah.
that's where we're going. And I would agree with that. So I've not had a student, it wouldn't be a student, that's not the right word. I haven't sponsored a trainee. I haven't sponsored a trainee. Other than we were trying with my wife to see, because she loves what I get to do, but it's probably not gonna happen. So we'll
I
see. Just not,
unsolicited
yeah.
off-camera advice about
Yeah,
that.
okay, we'll chat. Then we'll chat. I mean, I'm comfortable here either, but
Whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I'm comfortable here. Go. So, well, let me go back. The reason as to why, for the same thing that you were saying earlier, or when it comes to a sponsor, the trainee knows if they have a sponsor and that sponsor is not doing everything to the best of their abilities. That is one of the things that I'm priding myself with, and I'm not saying that I'm the best in the world, but I am trying to be the very best, and I'm trying. Like,
I don't
there
think
are
you're giving
times
yourself enough
there are
credit. This
times
is
that we
where,
sit down
like,
and audit,
yeah,
and
like audiologists and hearing instrument specialists might not always get along. And I think it's very important for people to see us having these conversations because I have a lot of respect for you. You have a lot of respect for me. You are not scared to ask questions when you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
You've called me. I've always answered the
yeah,
phone when you call. I'm happy that you call. I'm happy to do that. Just
yeah,
like I don't know everything either.
yeah.
There's something about you that I really respect, which is that you will audit your own charts. You'll call if you have a question. You really want to be practicing at the top of your profession, and that's very commendable.
I would thank you. I wouldn't want anyone. We said this yesterday. I called her for advice on someone who doesn't have a loss and wants to try a bike. Well, she has a unilateral. She had sudden sensory neural hearing loss, no bone conduction scores, normal hearing in the other side.
You asked me what I would fit.
And I'm comfortable. Like, it is. You have to be okay making that call. And I've done it. There's Dr. Laura Pertizzi in Citrus Hearing. I've called Amit. I've called other just audiologists in my time. Like, every time that the audiogram leaves your office, imagine that there's, especially with the
You're being judged.
you're being judged, and especially in a space where audiologists and hearing aid specialists really don't get along. You guys would love to see.
Pray on your downfall.
You don't. Yeah, exactly. Like, if whenever you see that masking, like, yes, it boils your blood, and at the same time, there's gotta be, whether you admit or not, or this applies to someone else, there's gotta be a little sprinkle of validation in here of, like,
There is.
this is why I went to school. This is why I had 4 years, and I had I had the diversity, and I learned all these things, so that someone else is not looking at my audiogram and critiquing Dr. Leigh Smith as someone that does not know what they're doing. And I wear the same hat. I am not an audiologist. I do aspire to be one. I do believe that before the end of my life, if I do well enough, where I can do this as a passion project and not a revenue producing one, I would go to school to do this, because I genuinely love this. And I say this all the time, and
every waste of money.
And it's mainly
love what I
because
do.
I want to be the best in my within my scope. I'm not trying to do more than what it is that we can do. But when it comes to hearing evaluations, fitting, and dispensing, like, I want to do everything that I can there. And this goes back to the passion thing from the audiologist or the hearing aid specialist. I do think that a lot of hearing aid specialists, like, if your sponsor was the top salesman at Miracle Ear, Belltone, whatever, like, I'm not gonna
mean they were good at diagnostics.
It does not mean that they could be very good with people. They could be strong. They could be swindlers, which, seniors get taken advantage of so much. They could be great on paper because they produce. That does not mean that they're doing things ethically and correctly, ethically. And then if you are their trainee and they're doing all these things, they're not gonna. I'm not saying this is everyone, but they're not going to give you the time. Like, they're not going to focus in and give you the time and energy. And that person, like that trainee, could be coming into this career because it is a passion project, because their mom had hearing loss. They have hearing loss. Like, this could not be. There are many people that enter this space because they're trying to, like, oh, you can make good money doing this. And it's only, like, I could be an electrician, or I could do HVAC. This is some sort of certification that gives me a career. And it is a beautiful career. And I think people could make great money and help people along the way. But if then the sponsor, like if you just answered an ad at a Miracle Ear and the sponsor that you got is not the person that is doing their best, you are now unfortunately, like who's gonna steer you right? Like we do not have compliance in as hearing aid specialists, which I think there should be. I have an audit system with my new provider, and it's because sometimes I mess up and sometimes she's
But
messes up.
I
And we
love that
sit
you
down and
even
go like,
want to
what
do
is
that,
wrong? Like
though.
what is it? And she wants to be, she's hearing impaired, and she's like, I want to do, like, this girl has a passion to do the right thing.
But
And
tell
it's
the
like,
whole story
yeah,
of what
about
you
what?
told me, which was that she said you are the most thorough person that she's ever seen work under as a hearing instrument specialist. Kudos to you. Congratulations. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Why isn't everybody doing that?
Yeah. Alrighty, guys, that was a ton of fun recording this conversation. We have a lot more that we're going to get into, but for the sake of our listeners, we're going to pause it right here. We do have part 2 that's coming up. So if you're interested in continuing this conversation, I know we're getting into a lot of fun things. Stay tuned. We're going to drop the new video and audio podcast coming really soon. Thank you guys for the liking, comments, and supports, and supporting the Bald Hearing Guy, supporting our Wax and Whiskey podcast. Take care.